Okay, somebody's got a lot of bass.
Cameron, make yourself visible.
All right, guys. Homework from yesterday. We heard from Mallory, James, Yossi, Aubrey, Caitlin. That's what we heard from yesterday. Those are
from me too, Chef.
Yeah.
Check your email, Chef. I sent one.
Yeah, I got yours too. Okay. So what do you guys?
I sent you an email.
What do you guys think about the article?
It's kind of not doing too much, but then again, it is. All these new procedures, cleaning. What is that?
Anyone else want to give it some thought?
I'm sorry.
I thought some of the ideas were really good, like the UV to help kill off bacteria or help bacteria from growing. I thought it was a really good idea. Like glove-wise, I don't think gloves is really doing much for us, because if you touch something while you're wearing gloves and you go to something else, you're basically spreading germs from one place to another.
Right.
Instead of washing your hands, when you can wash your hands after touching something and go do something else with clean hands. Gloves doesn't really help.
Gloves help if you can execute using them perfectly all the time, but people think that, oh, I got gloves, I'm good, and then they start messing stuff up. What's up, Mercedes?
I think James had his hand up before me. Go ahead, James.
Appreciate that, Mercedes. So what I think a lot of these ideas are really good and we should put into practice. But my only thing is, what about funding? Where's that going to come from? You know, like, especially, hold on, buddy. I'm in class. Go. Sorry. Where's the funding going to come from? Is it going to come from the Public Health and Safety Department? Are they going to fund this? Are local places going to have to use their own money?
I think it's probably going to be expense that the operator bears.
Exactly. That's gonna come out of their pocket and their revenue. And then with the uniform thing, like I know there's one restaurant around here called Freebird's World Burrito. That's their whole thing, the free spirit, no uniform, sanitary obviously because they're still in business, but no uniform, nothing like that. And now they can afford it, but what if a mom and pop shop has a similar mentality, you know? Are they going to have to dish out the cash to standardize uniforms? And I mean, I feel like a lot of the things are useful. Like, yes, the UV lights, it's just, my whole thing is, where is this funding coming from? You know? Like that's, I wish it would have gone into a little bit more detail about how to fund all of these projects. You know, they're great ideas for sure.
Right, you're right, Jane. I think he's just telling us, hey, this is some stuff that's coming. I don't think he's trying to say he has all the answers, but I think he's saying he has a lot of questions.
Yeah, and I'll just caveat on that. I think it was a very insightful, well thought out article. Being that he is in the industry, you get that sense when you read through, and he talks about the training and the temperature logs, stuff like that has already been implemented in a lot of places. It's just up to us to take those extra precautions. And a lot of the things that he spoke about, they may seem like they would be expensive, but a lot of it really just comes down to that initial training when you bring someone in, because a lot of it really does have to do with training people how to properly wash their hands, how to properly wash their uniforms, because if all that is covered in that initial onloading, then I feel like as long as it's followed up with, you know, making sure, hey, are you still doing this? I feel like it shouldn't really be that expensive. Glove and mask, most restaurants already have masks. And yes, like you said, Chef, if people aren't using their gloves perfectly every time, that is where it becomes a problem. Because like Aubrey said, most people will use the gloves and just, you know, move on to something else. And so, yes, you're spreading in that sense because they think, oh, well, yeah, I have gloves on, so I'm good. But the things you're
That
touching,
I feel
you're
like
not.
I feel like Mercedes. That's where it comes into, like you said, the whole training thing. Gloves are single use. Like
Yes.
you touch something, throw them out. So I
Yes.
feel you on that one.
Yeah, so I think in the initial onloading, if all this is covered in training, a lot of it really shouldn't incur too much additional expense because, like I said, gloves is already a part of your daily operation. As far as the equipment, the UV lights, I read up on the Lexan because I didn't know what those were, so I had to look it up. And something like that, yeah, it makes sense, you know, no longer using cardboards, and then the pre-clean, having a separate space to do all that when you receive, which makes sense. But I mean, which would definitely add more time to your operation because now you're having to add that additional step, but it makes sense in the grand scheme of things, which again, I feel like all this is already covered in your training, especially if that's going to be what you're expected to do. But I mean, it's just, I feel like if you want to be in this industry, then you're going to have to kind of just take that on the chin and just kind of roll with it.
Mm-hmm.
But those are my thoughts.
Those are really good thoughts. Anyone else?
Change.
Austin, what do you think? Did you get to read the article?
Oh, you can go ahead, Austin, if you got it.
I'll resend it again to your school email.
I didn't get to read it because my app's not working on my phone, so it won't load anything.
Okay. What about, do you have a laptop, any Chromebooks that you got from school?
Yeah, I got the Chromebook, but it wasn't working, so they told me just to bring it back up there and I can get a new one.
Okay. Anyone with your roommates that might have access to the internet, ask them to open up for you, and then you can read it. Be aware of what's going on. And I don't just share this with you guys just to, you know, full steam or get you guys involved. This is true life, and this is what's going to happen. And I even shared it with my fellow instructors. I blast the email with all the instructors at school for them to read it. And guess what? I haven't heard nothing yet from them. I don't know if they're better or not. But again, we got to be aware. We got to raise the flag and say, guys, this is serious. We got to readjust, right?
Yeah. I got something to say too about the article.
Yeah.
I know back in Missouri, SurfSafe, I took my test. I didn't pass in high school. My junior year I didn't pass. But I got hired onto a job and they didn't need SurfSafe. But when I moved down here, I work for Hot Dotty. I moved down here and you had to have your SurfSafe in the culinary field. In some places they don't have a SurfSafe requirement, but they try to teach you, and sometimes it might not work because some employers might take a shortcut, and like we were talking about bad habits, it might keep up a bad habit, and it might be an unsanitary bad habit that might cause somebody to get sick. Somebody gets sick, they can call the health department and come check and see how everything's done. If it's not done, you can get shut down and lose a lot of money, and you can get sued.
Right. Shaheem, thoughts?
Back to what he said, it all comes down to being able to readjust and being able to accept those changes and being able to be in effect. Because myself, I'm guilty too. I working at a restaurant, just being able to make sure, like, it's a lot of character and courage when no one's around. It's about doing the right thing when no one's looking. I ain't gonna lie, I've had dirty gloves and just not changed them or anything or nothing. It's just like you have to, I don't know. It's really common sense.
I had a cook a while ago that he was religiously looking for gloves, but he would wear them about 4 to 6 hours a day. So once, we told him, you can't do that. You got to wear them. I said, here's a couple of boxes. I want you to utilize this 2 boxes in the next 2 to 4 hours, depending what you do. I don't want to see gloves in your station. So a lot of places, a lot of companies are going to have a budget, and they're going to have to increase that budget to be able to buy supplies, the chemicals needed, the gloves. And now they're going to have to incur buying face masks to protect the employees and the servers, the front of the house. Not only that, they're going to have the time to train their employees how to keep themselves safe, how to be aware of the public, and how to keep the food safe too. So as an owner, those are dollars. That is money that is you're going to have to adjust and have within your budget. Because if you don't, you might get somebody sick.
I have a question, Chef.
Right.
Sorry to interrupt. But so we receive just about everything in some form of cardboard. What do you think, asking you or Chef Gary, what do you guys think we can do to eliminate that, or if that's even a possibility? That way there's no bacteria growing on that for the coronavirus that we even receive in the stores. It's just flat out coronavirus would potentially be almost eliminated in that sense from stores.
I can tell you something that has been attempted by a really sharp guy that used to teach at our school named Will Packwood. He is a very, very accomplished chef, worked in Europe and worked in the United States and opened a bunch of busy, successful places and all. Smart guy, and he also had experience as a distributor representative, like, you know, the guy that comes in your back door and meets you in the office and sells you your supplies for the week or tries to sell you new things and so forth. So we had a lot of connections around Central Texas in the industry, and he worked for a whole year at trying to get suppliers to working with those folding plastic crates. They fold down flat to be about the thickness of a 1-inch thick board or something like that, and then when you pop the sides up and snap a couple of snaps, they become a box. Great idea. He was
I know what you're talking about. I've seen those.
Yeah, you all have seen them, I think. And he was trying to eliminate wax board because it didn't, wax cardboard because it doesn't recycle, right? So like the box that has the fish box that has the chicken, stuff like that. He was like, if we're going to go dry, anything we have to use dry, let's make sure it stays dry and take care of it so it can recycle. And let's try to eliminate it. It's wax. And he felt at some point he had about 75% of suppliers and many chefs and buyers on board about moving towards that whole dry cardboard or plastic, no wax cardboard stuff. In that case, he was just trying to get the paper waste down, so he was willing to still work with cardboard. But today, if he was doing the same thing today, he'd be saying, well, let's just try to eliminate the cardboard too because of the coronavirus thing, right? And he worked hard at it for like a year and a half, and he couldn't get the restaurants and the suppliers to agree to split the cost on going to that new packaging and storing system. He had it set up where the crates come to you, you unload them into your own walk-ins, you stack them neatly, the supplier picks them up every day when they make the delivery. They pick up the last delivery's crates. They set up a washing and sanitizing system for it. Couldn't quite get it to happen. Sounded awesome. Maybe today people would take a closer look at the idea. It was like 3-4 years ago. It just never quite flew.
It's good to expense.
When you have to think about like pay cuts and food, changing the price on the menus just to get enough money to buy it if you didn't have a budget set up already, like a pay cut might have to raise prices on some food items. Probably might have to fire some people. Let them go.
Okay, now you're going the right direction. This is where I was going to head into next, because as this thing is happening now, a lot of operators and owners are going to have to readjust their budgets. They're going to have to reduce some costs somewhere else and increase them into keeping the public safe and the employees safe, having the right equipment, having the right gloves, face masks, plastic disposable aprons, hats, hairnets, all that goes with trying to keep them protective. Now, as they open up again, they're going to have to reduce that labor cost, and they're going to have to rework their menu if they can, to streamline it, so they don't have to spend that much money on cooks and still generate profit to offset that balance of now you got to spend X amount of paper towels, toilet paper, gloves, sanitizer, bleach, chemicals, all that fixed cost that a restaurant should have in the budget. They're going to have to raise it up. So they're going to have to sacrifice the other costs to bring it down to offset that balance. So as an owner, think about what he wrote and what he said, and some of them are realistic. And this is not the first time an incident like this happened. It happened back just about 10 years ago. I don't know where you guys were at about 10 years ago, but history is repeating itself. And I'm going to share a little something with you guys. It was in 08, 09. I don't know if Chef Gary remembers what was going on that time, that era. But here, I'm gonna bring up and share my screen with you what was happening at that.
What year, Jeff?
Huh?
What year?
08,
Are you
09.
referring to SARS and MERS?
Swine flu.
H1N1.
Yeah, swine flu, H1N1, influenza.
That happens right after SARS and MERS, Ms. Mercedes. Influenza was big. So when I was working in the industry, I was working in Branson. Branson is considered the Vegas of Missouri. There's a lot of retirement homes, a lot of golf courses. And in the summertime, it gets packed with elderly and people that, taking vacations because they have a lot of roller coasters, game theme parks, and so forth, so on. And a lot of buses that were coming into town. People were getting off the buses sick off their butts with H1N1. And it was a huge hit that they had to quarantine all the travelers coming to certain hotels. They had to quarantine the hotel. The hotel lost money, and they had to sanitize and clean the whole property. This went on from 07 to 08, and sometime it kind of slowed down in 09. But the same thing happened, back then as is happening now. We had to spend more money on having the right equipment, the disposables to go with it, the training, and what to do should somebody come in sick or somebody has some kind of symptoms. And it tells you right here, what is influenza? It refers to the swine flu, respiratory disease caused by type A influenza. People do not only get swine flu, but human infections do happen. In April 09, hundreds of cases of human infection were reported in several countries in the United States too. Okay, how does it spread? Again, go back in history. Where we at now, what was happening back then? A person coughs, sneezes, sending contaminated respiratory droplets into the air where another person maybe inhaled them. Sometimes people may become infected by touching contaminated surfaces or object and then touching their own eyes, nose, or mouth. So history is repeating itself again. What we went through back then, we are going to go through now. So the whole concept of having you guys read over that homework, it get you guys prepared when you guys go back into the industry. Be aware and try to protect as much as you can, and think about the cost of going in it from the training to the equipment that is happening. Same symptoms, same thing, but this one is a lot stronger because back then H1N, it didn't spread like wildfire like this one, and didn't kill thousands of people like this one is taking a lot of lives. Okay, so again, we had to come up with this fact sheet. My executive Sue, yes, James.
I mean, I was able to comprehend him, but I was only like 16, so I really wasn't involved in the industry as much as I am now. What exactly happened after that whole pandemic? Like, I don't quite remember because I wasn't really on the scene yet.
I will argue that, Chef, I know you'll have a good answer on this because I think you're more clearly tuned into this than I am. I was in education at the time. I wasn't making my living in the industry at that time. But I'm going to argue that what we kind of did was go back where we were before. Chef, do you think that's true? That, yeah, it was kind of scary and we took extra precautions. We spent extra money on sanitizing and labor dollars and all. But did we really change the habits when it was all over, or did we kind of go back where we were?
We went back, we reverted. So we went strictly, we grabbed the bull by the horns. We started training, spending money, equipment, the whole 9 yards. It was a lot of expense. We had to cut back on other areas and sacrifice some other expenses. It got under control, and of course, in the develop a vaccine and so forth, so on. It got under control, but as time went by, a lot of places went back to their old ways. A lot of employees went back to their old ways. They got relaxed because they didn't think it was going to happen again. And if it did happen, we had a cure.
So then a caveat question off of that one. Do you actually think we're going to move forward from this, even if we only do it for a little bit? Do you think we'll move forward from it and learn, or do you think we'll move forward from it and then revert back like we did with swine flu?
No, we're going to revert. We're going to move forward. We're going to learn. And it's going to be a lot more serious now because of the mortality rate that has taken a toll in the States and all over the world. But you're going to have those rebels who are still going to believe that, it can't happen to them, or, you have those underground places that are still going to hold certain parties, certain gatherings, menus, restaurants, and not abide by the rules because, again, they don't want to spend money on it because it's going to cost money. They want to make profit and spend less money to generate and try to recoup what they can. In the meantime, they're going to put the public at risk. So you guys have to be on the lookout, beware of what's happening Well,
And
you
then
guys go
I
out.
got one more question after this, and I'll be quiet for a while. So do you think restaurants should keep this whole implementation of, like, we'll say 10 people in a party or less, or do you think that we should allow bigger parties?
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Like I said, it's going to be a very strict rules and guidelines going back into the system. But a lot of people are going to start falling the slack, and they're going to start allowing a lot more people to come in. Okay.
I think the farther we get from the end of the virus, which could be still a whole year away, right? We don't really know exactly how long we got with this thing, do we, Chef?
Nope.
And the farther we get from it, the more people will kind of relax a little bit and get kind of back towards being closer together in small groups, large crowds in small dining rooms and things like that. I think there'll be unfortunately, a little bit of a return to less careful gathering site. And here's the thing for you guys to think about. Anybody, well, probably everybody's been in a club down on 6th Street or some busy downtown center, or heck, a rodeo type bar out in the boondocks, whatever. You get in a place with a crowd, right?
Same standpoint.
Right, and you're dancing and you turn in and you're huffing and your lungs are kind of pumping. You're using your muscles, and you know you're 1 foot 2 feet less sometimes from people you got no idea about. You're dancing with somebody you don't even know, right? And you're partying and drinking and laughing it up, and people are been outside smoking and they're coughing. Man, I mean, are we still going to be doing that a year from now if coronavirus is finally, fortunately, passed then? And so I'm not just talking about from the customer standpoint, but now let's think about it. Imagine you're a restaurant operator or a bar operator, or a bar and grill or something like that. Do we want to be back there where we know most of the time when this thing passes, we could usually probably have a lot of our business as usual, crowds close together, packed in there and all that kind of stuff. But isn't there a little bit of a what if in the back of your mind then at that point, after this experience?
Mm-hmm.
And here's one more thing for you guys to think about just a little bit, and I want to be quiet too because I'm not hearing enough from other people, but I just want to say this one other thing. A well-operated restaurant, obviously it's going to depend upon the prices you charge and how much, alcohol you sell and all that kind of stuff. But a well-operated restaurant might put, I don't know, maybe 7, 8, 9% of its sales dollars to the bottom line as profit. So if you had a busy place doing $1 million a month, a moderate size but pretty busy, steady busy, doing well, you wouldn't probably do $1 million a month. Maybe say you're doing $300,000 a month, $10,000 a day. So if you had $300,000 a month, you probably put $30,000 to your bottom line as profit, right? People think, oh, you buying that steak for $8 and you're selling for $29. Man, you're making money. And they're not thinking about all the other stuff that a restaurant pays to get to the bottom line, right? So maybe 8, 9% of the restaurant's sales dollars become profit to the owners. Now, they tend to spend about 2, 3, 4% of their total sales dollars on cleaning supplies, disposables, things like gloves, coffee filters, bleach, soap, floor cleaner, you name it. Chef, you can think of 50 more things. Parchment, cheesecloth, yeah. They probably spend about 3% of their sales dollars on paper supplies and disposables. If it's a fast food place, they might spend maybe a little more than that. I don't know. So if we spend twice the money on disposables that we used to spend, now we don't have 10% on the bottom line as profit. Now we got, 6% on the bottom line. That's going to hurt a lot. A lot of restaurant operators that are skillful don't really want to have that much at risk and that much responsibility to take 6% and 5% of their sales to profit. So they're going to have to make some moves, and they may try to employ fewer people. And in order to do busy crowds, to do large crowds and serve a lot of customers on fewer people, they're going to have to simplify their menus. They're going to have to take some of the complexities out of it and some of the the wide range of mise en place. They're just going to have to make things easier so 3 cooks could do it on Friday night instead of 5 or 6, for example. But if you keep everything the same and try to go to 3, it's going to be an ass whipping, and you'll have a lot of cooks that won't be able to keep up with it, or some who maybe could and they won't, right?
That's going to weed out the weak links in your teams. So yeah, it goes back to the bottom line number, the profit, the cost, and try to divert some of those numbers into a different account so you can have the proper equipment to sustain. Even uniforms. Let's talk about uniforms, about a T-shirt, and be in the restaurant. Well, some of those places might have to provide a laundry service for their cooks, even though if it's just T-shirts. They might have to send it to the dryers and bring it back so they can wear a clean uniform. Make sure that they have a clean uniform. Maybe
they might have to employ one of those uniform services, sends a truck around, brings you clean ones, takes away your dirty ones, brings them back certified sanitary and all that, right? I think if you have any money laying around right now, buy Admiral uniforms, buy Cintas uniform stock.
Yeah.
Those guys are going to have to get busy if we're going to keep a food and beverage in the hotel business.
And going back to training, I don't know if you guys can share if you guys are watching the screen that I just popped up on the sheet that's popped up on the screen. We even had to translate that N1N influenza to Spanish, and it had to get proofread, and we had to make sure that it was proper and appropriate, because we had to train the staff also in Spanish because they couldn't understand what we were talking about or how to react or how to take care of the product. So again, training goes up. It's huge. It's not just one time, one shot, and they'll say get out of the way. You have to make sure you train all across the board extensively, day in, day out.
Right. You have to repeat the training. You have to refresh them once in a while, things like that, right, Chef?
Exactly. Okay.
So it's gonna be a lot of expense.
Yep.
Training dollars.
So
if you're a skillful cook with management experience and you're a very, very fluent bilingual person, you might find work training crews,
right.
You know, conducting classes for food and beverage operations. They'll pay you.
So if anybody, again, goes back to history, this happened about 10 years ago. If you guys would like for me to share those sheets with you guys, raise your hand. I'll email to you guys. I mean, this happened 10 years ago, but again, history is repeating itself. It's not something that we haven't done before. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get back to training. I know. There we go. Where's my slide? There we go. Cool. Okay. So let's talk about types of training, guys. Okay. Orientations, applying job aids to the culinary world. Outline the components of successful training program and the major steps developed in the program. Okay. Training is huge, and it's going to be now more now you guys are more educated of what's coming up ahead. You guys can either ask for training, train maybe your coworkers, or maybe influence your bosses how to keep the food safe. Okay. So training. There you go. Come on. Okay. Overview. Every employee should know the basics of employees training, no matter what position you're in, from line cook to executive chef. You have the skills you can pass along to others, and you may end up having to pass those skills along. Training takes place at all levels. An executive chef might teach a new manager, and the line cook might teach a new line cook. Also, servers. We train servers as well too. Can somebody give me an example how to train a server?
Have him shadow a more experienced one.
And by example, do you mean like how to hold the plates, how to set them down, stuff like that?
Right. Even
get them to my servers when they grab the plate up with their fingers. I was like, no, you grab it from underneath. I used to wring their ass for that.
Well, what about the bigger picture, though? I mean, you have someone follow you around. That idea has been debunked badly. That's called magic apron theory. Put an apron on them, they become a server, right? I mean, yeah, I can learn something following, but really what I might need is a job description,
an SOP,
some actual hands-on training on some steps, watch somebody and help them a shift or two, and then start doing a table or two myself while they watch me. And they set you up for it, and little by little, you actually learn the pieces of it rather than, I mean, I've been a very bad trainer at times in my life because when I didn't know any better, and then I had to learn how to be a trainer, and I found out all just stuff to know about it, right? And there's actually a way to train people. There's people that make their living with expertise on training. I think that's what Chef Miguel's asked for. Like, what's some good methods you've seen other than just, hey, dude, don't do that?
And again, an SOP, what is an SOP, Ms. Mercedes?
Standard operating procedures, which outlines each step in the process of getting something done. So if someone is not knowledgeable, then they have somewhere that they can go to actually look how something should be done step by step.
Right, SOP, standard operating procedures. Those are most commonly known by now, okay? And even like I said, when the servers, you got to train them how to hold the plate, how to put the plate down, what side goes in front of the customers, how to bring the dirty dishes back, how to unload them in the dish pit, where to go get the clean dishes. So even as line cooks, yeah, servers might be skilled in a lot of restaurants that they work at, but every place is different. Every place is different system. So SOP, standard operating procedures. There's another one that we used to have. It was called JSA, Job Standard Analysis. Same deal, okay? And this one, we train about proper, lifting, trip and fall hazards. So we have, May 2008. We were training on, what was it on this one? Slips, trips and falls. What to do, how to avoid trips and falls, because, as you know, any injury that when you fall in the workplace is going to hurt you a lot, and you're going to be a lot of time from the workplace, and it's going to cost a lot of in the workers' comp. Okay, so again, dry floors as you go with the mop, dry mop, keep floors wet, rinse bucket. Oh, this is how to mop floors. We even had a JSA, job safety analysis. On this case, standard operating procedures, SOP, on how to properly mop the floor. We had to. It wasn't like, it was negotiable. We had a meeting of 5 to 10 minutes during the huddles or team meetings in the morning before everything started. And we had all the sheets. Everybody had one, and we showed a demo how to properly mop the floors. Everybody had to sign it and return it back to us. The next time somebody was mopping the floor and they weren't doing it properly, hey, don't you remember how we train you how to mop the floor? Because there's certain ways how to, take care of equipment, how to mop, how to clean. Because if you don't, then the floor starts getting dirty. You miss a couple of maybe a banana peeled on the floor, cockroach, whatever, and then you're going to have somebody have an accident. So, as silly as it might be, it might look, you have to teach them and train them accordingly. Because if you don't, you're going to have an accident. Okay, so you have
cockroaches are pretty slick when they're full of fryer grease.
Yeah, I know. So training. What did I leave off? Where's my slide? Here we go. Okay. So training. Okay. There we go. So if you're in charge of staffing a hospitality operation, it's even more important to understand training. Even if an employee only stays in for a year of the training, the increased productivity will offset the money spent on training. Plus, training will give them a vested interest in the company and make them less likely to leave in the first place. Training, if you train somebody, is going to become very valuable. Even nowadays, how to keep the food safe, how to keep themselves safe, how to have proper hygiene, how to be sanitized. Like when you guys come in the first block, the first entire week is nothing about serve safe. How to train you guys to keep the food safe. How to keep the food safe, how not to kill people, right? From washing your hands to the food temperatures, to where to store food, to how to wash it, all the different cases, to the full illnesses. So it's ongoing training. And even so, every single day in the kitchen, we got to keep it up, because otherwise you will have those individuals who are using the red cutting board for a piece of bread. Just give an example.
Do you guys remember that chef in that article we read for today? He mentioned something called HACCP and saying that you're going to see a lot more HACCP in regular restaurant operations. You might remember, at least in my sanitation class, we kind of recognized that HACCP in the past was something that is done officially in bigger operations with more to lose, more sensitivity because of large amounts of food being held or a high-risk population and things like that, and that the sanitation, the inspectors kind of take a little more laid-back approach on small places. And this guy was kind of saying, yeah, you small places and chef owner places and stuff and small chain operations, you're going to probably see a much increasingly intense use of the HACCP principles in inspecting your own operations. They're going to probably be telling you that he's probably telling us that even the small, simple operations are going to be held to some kind of standard for having their own HACCP system in place.
So do you think it's going to get stricter on larger chains as well, or do you think they're going to be required to bare minimum maintain what they are now?
I think it will get stricter on the larger ones too, Chef. What do you think, Chef Miguel?
Oh yeah, very strict in the larger ones, and it's going to be somewhat held in certain sectors because they're going to be so what's the word I'm looking for? so demanding and so micromanagement employees, they're gonna drive them nuts. But you have to, in this case, you got to protect the public, especially hospitals. Take a look at hospitals. Those are the places that the mortality rate is high and the virus is spread. So you being a line cook at a hospital or a nursing home, you have to be on the best of the best safety and sanitation practice you could ever be, because you got to practice day in, day out. Because if you don't, you're probably going to catch something from those residents, those patients, or you're going to pass it along to them. And then you're going to take it home to your family and loved ones. So you got to be on alert. You got to be on your toes, especially in those two places.
You know, Chef, I fear more for the failure to pull it off in the restaurants and country clubs and smaller hotels and things like that, because I've been in the healthcare business 5 or 6 years ago. Opened a new retirement type community. It was an Alzheimer's care place. So some of them were not in there just because they were extremely old, but they were in there because they were becoming debilitated by their Alzheimer's and Lewy body or Parkinson's and things like that. And the strictness of the sanitation standards and gloves and sanitizing and frequency of wipe downs and temperature checks and recording everything, that was already a very happening deal in that place. So I don't think it'll be a huge shock to good retirement home chefs and good retirement home operators. But I think that hotshot downtown with the bandana and the red hanky in his back pocket and, his little homies that cook all the beautiful food while he gets to be presented as such a badass, which he probably is, but he's not doing that stuff. He's pretty smart. He or she, they're pretty clean, not bad, but I don't think that's going to be cutting it going forward. I think that they're the ones that are going to be feeling some shock with regulation and new stringent requirements.
I'm going to give you a homework tonight, just FYI. Once we're done, I'm going to give you a video to watch, and you're going to have to, I'm going to ask from you guys individually to give me a training manual. How will you train this individual to cook in the kitchen? Okay. I show this to my foundations class, and I won't tell you which video it is, Mercedes, but I showed it, and it's an eye opener of this guy, what he does and what he doesn't do. So I want you to look at it, and yeah, you're going to be shocked at the things that he does, but I want you to, in your mind, think as an owner, operator, and his boss, how are you going to devise a JSA or SOP to train this individual to treat the food safe? So that'll be your homework coming up. Okay, so stay tuned.
Are a JSA and a SOP the same thing, or would you class they're different?
They're similar, the same thing, just different names. Standard operating procedure is one, and you can spend 5 minutes teaching somebody how to clean the slicer, or how to empty the fryolator, how to hold a knife. The JSA, it says job safety analysis. They both have similarities, different names. Okay. Support training methods. The method many chefs use in training employees is the magic apron method. Put an apron on someone and they're really magically a line cook. This tends to lead to lost, confused, dissatisfied employees who feel like there's a little reason to stick around. So this is a bad idea that you shouldn't do it. Okay. Have you guys ever walked into a place and got hired, and here you go. There's your station. There's your knife. Go ahead. Go at it, right? Throw you the knife.
Me at my uncle's restaurant.
Your uncle's restaurant, yeah. It is a sink or swimmer sink, right?
Pretty much. He was like, "Here, put this on. I'm gonna show you what to do." And then he was like, "You get it today, get it down." I was like, "All right."
If you survive, you made it. You're a survivor. If you don't, like, take up your up and deuce, man. I'm out. Watch me kick
Pretty
out
much.
the
He was
Lions.
like, you won't work for me, and I just, I'm all right.
Right. So that's one poor training method. Okay. Another one. Other chefs use the big brother, little brother method. The method of is most commonly used in front of the house staff. And you hire a spare with the veteran server and follows the server and watches them as they work. Idea is that the little brother learns from what he needs to know from the big brother, but in practice, it doesn't really teach him any skills. Little brother can try to blindly copy what the big brother does, but he doesn't understand any other line skills or techniques that the big brother uses because the big brother might have some bad habits, right? Not washing their hands, not using the proper cutting board, not sharpening their knife, maybe dropping the asparagus in the fry later instead of putting them in the grill. So
he could also fail to explain what he's doing.
Right.
Okay, great. The kid gets to follow me around. Big deal. You know, I got work to do. Train this guy my ass. I got work to do. They don't pay me for that. So he just keeps his mouth shut, and he was barely polite to the kid. The kid follows him around. One shift later, two shifts later, what has the new guy learned from him, right, Chef? Maybe not much.
Have you guys been into put in this kind of position before? Yeah.
I have all the time. Like pretty much every restaurant I've been in, except for Top Golf when I actually opened up that when they taught us the menu from scratch. But like every other restaurant I've been in, it's like, hey, follow this guy around, do what he does, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
So
they do that at just about every job I work at. You go find, they basically pick out the hardest worker, and basically you under him. And then, yeah, that's basically it. You under the hardest worker, and they expect you to pay attention to every move he does. Sometimes they don't even do it by the rule, but they do it their way because it's quicker, and they're training you.
Yes, Cameron. How much do you think that trainer was trained? How much did they prepare him to train you?
They didn't.
No.
They didn't prepare him well enough. They probably told him, "Oh, you got a new trainer." Because how I was told, you if I'm working, say I come in from work, "Oh, we got a new person coming in. You just gonna train them on the station that you in right now." That's literally what they told me. So I was like, I didn't even get trained right. So how am I gonna train somebody if I don't know what I'm doing right? If I get yelled at one mistake, so if I mess up and train him the right way, y'all will fire me. But instead, I could go to HR and tell them y'all never trained me right, and y'all expect me to train somebody else, and I'm not even knowing what I'm doing right. So who fault is that going to be? It's going to be HR's fault.
When did you find out you were training this guy? Right when he came into work?
The day up, or the day before he came in, and that's normally about the right time you find out you're going to be training somebody, because some managers don't like talking to their workers, some of them do. And then it's just you find out so late, like I don't even know what to train them on. I just tell them what you do when you come in or what you do when you go out. Teach them how to close, teach them how to restock, all the basic stuff.
Right. But if you had a good book that had all the basic training stuff in there for them to go over, and they could maybe take a copy home and read and different things like that, and there was a plan, wouldn't you feel like you going to be more successful as a trainer? And wouldn't you feel a little bit better that somebody paid some attention to making it possible for you to train?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if they do it that way, all you have to do is answer the questions because they have the book. And if they have the book to read, all they have to do is come to work. If they mess up on something, they ask you the question. You're the trainee. You're the trainer. They're the trainee. And it'd be an easier situation to get out of instead of actually.
Have you heard of this? It's called, have you guys heard of Train the Trainer? Train the Trainer. Don't just make a trainer because he happens to be a good cook. Give a trainer the things that he or she needs to know in order to train people. Teach them how to do it. So you're training, this is going to be a bad pun coming in here, but So this way your training program is not a train wreck, right? Because that's what you're going to get if you don't prepare them for training. You're just going to be, yeah, I'm telling you, I ain't trying to make it up, but it just kind of came out.
I think you thought on that one for a little bit, Chef.
No, James, you always lie to me like that. Don't.
Couldn't help but let it leave the station.
Oh.
I'll give you guys a little story, okay, about training. Okay. I was moving from Missouri to Oklahoma because I had just gotten promoted and I was opening up a brand new hotel, right? So everything was already set. My last day was already set on the calendar, you know, my last day working there, and I got my blessings and so forth, so on. And, you know, I was working until the last day. So they hired my, the guy that was going to replace me to come in. And I never met him. So I never had a chance to interview or sat him or nothing until the day he actually stepped on the kitchen. I'm like, who's this guy? And they said, like, well, he's in training to take your spot. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. So I trained him on the basics. And back then I was executive, so I was in charge of purchasing and receiving. So there was no purchasing clerks. I was doing all the purchasing, receiving, invoices, all the accounting. There was no banquet sous chef. So I was a banquet sous chef as well. And I was sliding for the sous chef in the line on his days off. So I was all over the place. And I was training him on the certain things that he needed to, the basics. You know, how to do banquets, how to take care of banquets, how to do the production sheets, how to attend the meetings, what to look out for, what to ask, what to tell his staff. I was training him on purchasing, when the cutoff time was supposed to be from Cisco or whoever we were buying from, what to look out for. I even gave him the spreadsheet and the system, the ordering guide, and I also trained him the inventory because that was my responsibility too, to come in at 2 o'clock in the morning and do the inventory until 2 o'clock the afternoon the next day. So I had a lot, my plate was full. So I was training him on everything that I was doing, right? It took me the whole day to give him all this information that he needed to be successful for the spot that he was filling for my shoes. Came in the next day, and I was supposed to keep on training him again. He was nowhere to be found. He had, I finished with him, I got him like around 9 o'clock in the morning after he made his rounds to the management staff. So from 9 o'clock in the morning all the way through like about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, you know, I told him, okay, you know, we're done. I'm going to go home and you do whatever you need to do. So he went up to his room, came in the next day at 7 o'clock in the morning, was looking for him, nowhere to be found. He actually checked out at 3 o'clock in the morning and went back home. Couldn't handle it. Couldn't handle it.
Maybe he was one of those folks that got hired that didn't really have the experience to do that job, and he recognized it after he saw all the stuff you were doing. You described a pretty serious workload just now, Chef. Buying, receiving invoices, posting invoices, food costs, inventory, banquet sous chef on top of all that. That stuff probably looked like a freaking train load of overwhelming headaches to him.
And like Cameron said, you know, if you guys notice, I'm very detailed on my spreadsheets. I'm like very structured. So everything that I gave him had a purpose. Everything that I passed on had a purpose in the system. So he had to follow those through, because if he didn't, guess what? 4 o'clock comes around on a Sunday afternoon, forget it. He can't, he's got to call the Cisco and order a will call to make sure they get dropped the next day. So being very rigid as far as the system and having a routine, it wasn't something that individual could carry on. So you as a trainer, you have to be very detailed of what the job entails, but you got to give them a heads up first, because you don't want them to run off. To make sure they understand, they grasp the idea, and they're up to the task of grabbing that job description and being successful with it. But don't leave anything out. You have to be very, very clear in your communication. So
yeah.
So train. Okay. Another poor training, big brother, little brother. Yeah, he was actually, you know, I'm 6'2". He was about 4.5. I don't know. He was roly-poly. Okay. Thoughts as an employee, which will make you feel more valued. Okay. Thrown into the fire of the line, or have someone invest time, maybe a few days or a week of training. I'd rather spend time with you one-on-one, maybe a week, and then let you guys solo a little bit, and maybe ask for help from the person next to you. I'm not the type of person who's going to throw you in the line the first day and say, "Here's the keys. Lock up when you're done." Right?
It's a lot of people in this industry that won't ask for help. I've noticed that. I do it sometimes.
Yeah.
True. It's not the best thing, is it?
No, you got to ask for help. But you know, we see that. So we as chefs, some of us are very thorough, and we train to the minutest detail of how to dice, how to cut, how to clean, how to mop, even how to mop. We have to just develop a JSA or SOP to make sure they understand how to mop. Train people well enough so they can leave. Treat them well enough so they won't want to. Okay. So,
that's awesome. Train them so well they can leave and find another job, but treat them so well that they won't leave. Pretty good, huh?
Pretty good, huh?
Right. My last job did neither.
That sucked, huh?
Yeah. They're not doing too well right now.
The people that
I have a question for some of you guys now. I mean, so some of you guys that we're not hearing from too much right now, listen to this question and give me a shot. Don't worry about sounding like you don't. Just give us a shot, right? Some of you guys who haven't talked too much yet, Chef Miguel, you know who they are a little bit too. Trying to get some of you guys involved here. What would be good about training someone really, really well so that they would know a lot about what I do? Maybe I train them so much of what I know that if I was gone, they'd still hold that position down pretty well. Could that be a good thing?
Absolutely. That's like the best thing ever, because then you can go on more vacations, you know, obviously you feel more comfortable leaving. And then also there's like a certain like responsibility that goes along with it, and it's just trust, you know what I mean? So you have a really good employee and you're not worried about what they're putting out while you're gone. They're just always continuously putting out like the best that you've ever been able to do, and they're putting it out the same. So I think that's kind of the best thing you could possibly get, and knowing that everything's done the way that you want it done while it's, you know, while you're gone is just really nice. And that's obviously a result of training them well. So
that's how you can get some of your own life back. Sometimes you work too much when you're first trying to get a place on its feet, or you start to get your hands around the place and be sure you can run it. So you get your own life back a little bit when you know that other people can do some of those jobs. That's true, right? So you have some good points, but I haven't heard everything yet. If somebody else has something to add, what's good about getting somebody trained up to do your job? This is important stuff to me. It ought to be
so you don't have to do as much.
So I don't have to do as much.
Like Chef, remember the other day you were saying you left and you thought that you trained them well enough that they can run your cafe good.
Yeah.
That's the reason why they can run it without you being there the same way with you being there.
I was able to be sick in the hospital. It wasn't great when I was gone, but they kept it going, and they kept a little bit of sales dollars coming in, and it's probably the reason why the place survived. It's a good point. I'm still looking for some more. You got something, Mercedes?
Yeah, I think it's good to have someone so well trained that if you do lose your SME, your subject matter expert, that your operation isn't crippled, because that is going to be the biggest problem. And this is something that I know for a fact that the military suffers from a lot, is that they have this one person that they will continuously send to different trainings. But then when that person leaves, the people below them don't have that same knowledge.
There's a big hole. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I got another one. Retirement.
Mercedes, it sounded like you're at my squadron. I just had no idea.
All right. So
you hit the nail on the head.
This is good. I want to hear from somebody else. Come on. And I still got a big thing to say about it, and then I'll shut up for a while, but I want to hear from
I think I know.
more.
I know, Chef.
Oh, well, go ahead.
Go for it.
So a good thing to about training someone, everything you know, is that they can take your position and you can focus on tasks that aren't being or that don't have it.
You can take the whole week off, and we're going to send you the money, pay for your expenses.
Week off. It's focus on areas that need more attention.
There we are. Thank you. That's what I'm trying to get to. How can, if I'm the sous chef, now let's say I'm the executive sous chef and Chef Miguel is the executive chef, so I'm second below his level, right? And I should be able to do his job for his day off. I should be able to do it if he got sick, and I should be able to do it if he moved on to another operation somewhere. Maybe he gets transferred. Maybe he just quits and says, bullshit, I'm going for some more money somewhere. whatever, he leaves, how can I get promoted into Chef Miguel's job if I don't have a sous that's ready to do the executive sous job that I'm doing? Right? How can you step up if there isn't somebody to step into that hole that you're going to leave when you step up? Because you're going to leave a hole, or you're going to step up and still try to hold down all the responsibilities you already had. That happened to my daughter at Whole Foods a few years ago. They would, anyway, another story. But one of the good reasons to train people well enough and really get them comfortable, worked into the shoes of your position, is that's how you can be promoted. If someone can't fill in behind you, then you probably haven't made it possible for yourself to be promoted. I'd love to promote you, but I don't see that you got anybody ready to do that job when you step out of it, Bato. You stuck where you are until you get somebody to step in there and rock that place.
So when you
that's all I gotta say.
So when you train them successfully and they're able to leave, that's a feather in your cap. That's how you move up the chain of command, because the more people that come out of your store or your kitchen to go to different places and take more responsibilities, you now may become the corporate executive chef, the corporate manager of your company, because you're the one that's sending your employees to take care of other properties, because the moral ethics, the regulations, the guidance, and the training that you instituted day in, day out to make those other stores successfully by sending the ones that came out the ranks in your kitchen, you send them out to take over the other properties. That should be the key goal, to make sure that you train them strong enough that they can take over your store without you being there 24/7. Because if you're the owner, you don't want to be there 24/7. You want to have somewhat of a life. You want to go on vacation. What if you get sick? What if your spouse gets sick? What if your kid gets sick? What if, what happens? You got to be able to make sure that your right hand can take care of the property. That case, when you open up another store, another kitchen, another food truck, you're able to send that strong employee to be in charge of that food truck while you still manage this one. Maybe bring somebody up. Now you can have somebody take over that one store, and now you're overseeing both of them without being there. Okay.
Yeah.
That's how you train to be successful.
Yeah. You really have to have that happening if you're one of those places that's growing and adding new properties a few times a year, or sometimes even a couple, 3 times a month. When the organization is growing that fast, they need people who get in there, learn, nail it down, get good at it, and go to a new location and train some people. And some more new people have to come in behind them and get trained. You're not going to see a lot of that in the next 2-3 years, because I think the business is going to be a little bit flat for a little bit. But when the economy starts revving up and new ways of doing food business starts to take off, you're going to see a lot of that promoting and training and vacancies for new jobs for people to step into them.
So, good training methods. The best thing to do is to have a full training program. You can make up each new employee's training on the spot, but it's a much better idea to come up with a regular training plan that you see whether you train someone. If you create a written training manual, which the trainee can refer to when they need one better. Here I'm going to show you one. I think I have one of a training manual that I used to do. Okay. Here's one. Here it is. Okay. So I'm going to share with you guys this training manual that I had, and it talks about all this good things of how to train. Okay. Where is it? Right here. No, not that one. Where are you? Let me pull it up. Just give me a few seconds and I'll pull it up for you guys to see. The training manual that I had for this company that came in, the cooks that came in. There we go. There we go. Okay. So speaking of training, okay, Let's take a look at this training manual that we had on the job, okay? This is the training manual for the culinary cook, okay? Quite extensive. Here's the index pages, okay? Shift briefing, safety procedures, disinfecting, sanitizing, sanitation. We had a training of all of this, and it wasn't just one time, it was ongoing. How to ice fish, storage, defrost, toxic substances, recipe cards, 86 items, clean produce. So this is from Branson, Missouri, the only Fort Diamond resort in southwestern Missouri back at the time, okay? So it went on, okay? And the top, the standard, the procedure, okay? How to brief the shift, check in with the sous chef at the start of the shift, review the following information before starting work, house count, departures, arrivals, VIP, any special guest arrivals, group activities, catering functions, time and location, special activities, events, promotions, safety topics, standard of the week training, changes in policy procedures, problem areas, complaints, and guest comments. Standard, report to your sous chef. So that was one. And it's about, what is it? 62 pages. 62 pages that they read it, okay, thoroughly, understood, signed it, and they got a copy of it. Safety procedures, okay? No horseplay and running strictly, okay? Walk up, down the stairs one at a time. Follow instructions while using any type of equipment. Watch where they are going at all times. Immediately pick up anything that drop on the floor. Wet floors, even a few drops can cause more accidents. To dishes, do not use glass to drink out of the kitchen. Use paper products. Always disconnect electric equipment before cleaning. Keep aisles and halls clean, okay? When coming out of the walk-in boxes, open the door or corridor, open it slowly because you might hit somebody. They might be walking by and you're gonna slam into the doors into their bodies. What else? Use the solution, chlorine to swab, because we didn't have any quads sometimes, we had the chlorine. So how to measure it, how to make sure that the concentration was properly concentrated. To clean cutting boards, knives between each with hot water, sometimes solutions. Wipe workstation, wash your hands, change kitchen rags frequently, never defrost frozen food in hot water. No, do not wash hands in sinks used for food preparation. Do not prepare foods in sinks used to clean hands. This is back in 06, 07, guys. This is the menu that we had for the cooks. It's quite extensive. Again, it's about 62 pages that we had them sit down and read it, okay? So think about what you're gonna train and why it's so important to train. Okay.
Chef, the way that I've seen something like that used in the past was a restaurant company that I worked for where we opened two very busy new properties. Was they published something that looked a lot like that, and they gave it to the folks when they showed up on their first day of what we call the orientation, and we spent like, I don't know, I think it was a 6-hour day, like started at 9 in the morning, went to 4 in the afternoon with a 1-hour lunch break. We went through the whole thing, just like a bunch of PowerPoints or whatever else. And then we asked them to sign it. Mm-hmm. And it covered all the safety stuff, all the, just, you know, even all the kind of stuff like punching in your responsibility for your time card, your responsibility to communicate with your manager if you're going to be sick, and just all the little things that would help the place be better and prevent problems. If you know them and do them right, everything will be just fine. If you start missing that stuff, you know, so they covered everything in there, and you got a signature on it, which means you have the ability to say, we know you know this, and you did otherwise anyway. Now this could be a write-up and disciplinary action and so forth, if it came to that. We didn't want to do write-ups and disciplinary actions all the time, but you sometimes do have to. And if they've been informed of what the rules are, then you're on solid ground when you have to enforce.
We're also going to be talking about disciplinary actions coming up in the next few days, how to discipline somebody. Okay, that's also in the coming up, because you as owners, it's not just about cost controls, creating menu recipe cost cards, training, delegating. Also, how to discipline and coach certain individuals that you know they're not going to work out in the kitchen. Now you know you're going to have to sit on across the desk and just give them the blessings and send them on their way home. Okay, So we were talking about how to handle those situations. Okay. So good training methods. The best thing to do is to have a full training program. Okay. You can make up each new employee's training on the spot, but it's a much better idea to come up with a regular training plan that you see whenever you train somebody. If you create a written training manual, which the training can refer to when they need, even better. Hence, what I just showed you guys, right, is quite extensive, 62 pages of that training manual. If you guys think it's a lot, it's not, especially when you're generating, the restaurant is generating $5 million alone, not in banquets and catering. Then you have the time and money to spend in the uniforms, equipment, the training aspects, and also the hiring, because you want to retain the core staff, make sure they're up to date, up to par, and you don't kill somebody or have some kind of issues in the kitchen. Okay. What else? When training someone, start slow, teach them a few skills at first, and give them achievable goals and responsibilities based on using those skills. Once they get a handle on those skills, start introducing new ones. Praise them when they succeed and accept they'll fail sometimes. Do not micromanage them. Give them enough freedom to develop the skills for themselves, but correct their mistakes before they can become bad habits. Does this sound familiar to you guys? Anybody?
I think that's a good idea. Well, I've never worked in a kitchen or anything, but I relate all this to the medical field. I think that, well, because whenever I worked at a plasma center, they did have SOPs. They had me reading SOPs for a whole week, and it just became tedious. And some of the things I did not know what they were. Like, how am I supposed to know what, like, a certain machine they called it, like, oh, the ProKit machine, and it does this and this, and I'm like, I don't even know what it is. And so it just kind of went like a whole week of just reading and reading and reading, and I wouldn't remember what I read or like the machine or the training for the first day. On the 6-7 day of the next week of the job, just because I was like, I don't know what it is. But that's how I know it's not good training. But that, like, you know, if you introduce me to a SOP, you know, for like half a day of what I read, and then, you know, teach me, and then show me the machine, and then, you know, like train me how to use it, yeah, I would have more of an understanding of what you're talking about, instead of going of like, oh, 5 days of SOPs after SOPs, different machines. Like, I'm not gonna remember that after 8 days just reading like what I read the first day.
Yeah, I can't remember if a whole pile of written material all at one time in the same way. I can't remember it very well either, but you're really right. If you can see it and get your hands on it and see somebody use it, exactly, use it a little bit, that's very helpful.
Mm-hmm. I think so too, yeah.
So think for a minute, guys. I want to jog your memory. I want to jog your brain.
Training like that, where it's like slow and introducing. Many of my training has been trial by fire, pretty much. They I Friday night, and they'll say, "All right, get to work," and that, in my opinion, is the fastest way for me to learn. Is when you have so much pressure on you, you memorize things faster. At least for me, it might be different from someone else, but that's how I was trained, and it was good for me.
Well, Raceland, I think you raised a good point there. I worked at a super busy Italian, like a pasta place one time, where they basically put me in like 2 days of prep so I could learn where stuff was. And the third day they put me on the lunch line like 2-3 days in a row. And then within a week, they moved me to the night line, the pasta station on the night line. And it was like, I don't know, 900 covers, 1,000 covers. And it was kind of like a training by force. You just had to get down and get your mind 110% on it, and everything else out of your mind, and just think and listen. There was no talking, there was no nothing. And it kind of, I never would have said this except for what you said just now. I never would have said that it was an effective training method, but I tell you what, it got me up to speed pretty quick. It was like, you're going to survive or not, you know?
Right.
Somebody somewhere said it's a wrong method, but it seemed to work in that case.
Yeah, if you're not prepared for the big rush when it happens, bye.
Yeah.
Mercedes doesn't like it. I'm not sure I liked it either at the time, but it worked.
Nope. And I'm going to be very transparent. I'm the type of person who I like to know everything, every little detail, because when I break the rules, I want to make sure that I'm breaking them the right way. So I need to make sure that I know the intricacies of everything so that when I break the rules, there's really no reproach because I've done it in such a way that I know the loopholes.
Mercedes, I think I broke rules surviving that training in that restaurant. I think I broke some rules. But the chef is watching 9 line cooks. He's got about 12 waiters behind him, 2 maitre d's. He's screaming into a microphone. He has a clothesline, like a real tight cable strung from left to right, about 20 feet long. This in the old days of hard copy paper tickets, those little kind of metal clips that slide back and forth. And he's just walking back, screaming into a microphone all the time, and it's blaring out in speakers over our heads. I could be like probably doing all kinds of breaking the law and doing things wrong. As long as the food was coming out and it looked nice, he wasn't going to notice me breaking little rules. I think I still got away with breaking some rules because you did for survival there, you know. So I'm not saying it's a great training method, but some places that's kind of how they do it. And they might bring in a lot of people in the course of a year, and some of them never survive, never come back for the second shift, like that guy Chef Miguel described a while ago. But then some people, they survive that second shift, and after 2-3 days, they realize, oh, I can do this. And the next thing, they're just doing it, you know. So it might seem weird, but it has been done.
Now,
when I worked at Alamo, they had like a measuring cup for each ingredient, and they were like, this is how you make the pizza. But then there would be nights where it's a brand new movie, or it's like Avengers. We had theaters sold out from beginning to end, and they're just like, throw the cheese on the pizza and get it in the oven. And that's how we did it on sold out nights. Just instead of just like, you know, like carefully measuring it, just like get the cheese on the pizza.
Huh. Okay. That's just like what I made you guys do in class. Here's your tablespoon measuring. Measure your tablespoon of sugar and throw it on the palm of your hand and look at it. And then throw it in the mixing bowl. And then do it again and do it again. Do it a couple, 3 days. And pretty soon, you don't measure your tablespoon of sugar anymore.
You can tell just by grabbing it.
Yeah. I mean, you'll be wrong a little bit this way and that, but if it's a bake shop, it's got to be precise.
It's like muscle memory, right?
And your eyeball. I'm just saying that their method did work, didn't it?
So I'm gonna jar your brains for a minute here, okay, guys? So take a quick pause and a quick breather, and really listen to what the slide just talked about. Okay, think about it, because I'm going to put you guys in the other side of the room for a minute. So I want you guys to give me your thoughts and opinions. How would you go about training somebody or training?
You're not paying attention, nigga. You just walking with.
So here we go. When training someone, start slow. Teach him a few skills at first. Give them achievable goals and responsibility basis on using those skills. Once they get a handle on those skills, start introducing new ones. Praise them when they succeed and accept that they'll fail sometimes. Don't micromanage them. Give them enough freedom to develop the skills for themselves, but correct their mistakes before they become bad habits. Think for a minute of the whole statement, okay? Now, I'm going to put you guys as a chef instructor in Foundations.
I can't do it, Chef.
Isn't that exactly what we do? How will you be the chef instructors in Foundations? Will you do the exact same thing? So I'm putting you guys in our shoes as trainers, as educators. Okay, think about what he just said. Okay, training someone to start slow. Where do you guys begin in week 1?
Sanitation. Serve safe. Hell.
Serve safe.
And then a test.
Sanitation.
What'd you do first? You talking about in the lab kitchen, Chef, or you talking about even going all the way back to sanitation?
All the way back to the first week, and then all the way some, because when training somebody, start slow. So now you're the chef instructors. Right? Serve safe. Now we go through how to wash your hands. You guys read the book and so forth, so on. Now you're the chef instructor in Foundations. You covering week 1. Okay, you're starting slow. Now here's the next one. Okay, teach them a few skills at first, and then give them achievable goals and responsibility based on using those skills. What happens in the first week? Where do you guys start?
Knife skills.
Life skills.
Before you even pick up the knife, what do you really do?
Communication.
Serve safe.
No, I mean, after serve safe, the first day you get in the kitchen, what do you do?
Secure your
Sanitation.
Wow,
These
secure
supplies.
sanitation bucket, right? Where's those towels? Got your tools out? Yeah.
Okay. So, and giving responsibilities based on those, using those skills. So first week is how to hold a knife, how to become, how to have that an extension of your hand, how to do certain cuts, the lingo that goes behind Brunoise, fine julienne, tourné, oblique, bias cut, right? And then once, the next one says, once they get a handle on those skills, start introducing new ones. So where do you guys go from on the second week? Where do you guys start doing the second week?
Stocks and sauces. No, mayonnaise.
Sauces.
Mayonnaise.
Mother sauces.
Mother sauces, right?
Mayonnaise and stocks, mother sauces, right?
Right. Okay.
My potatoes taste better than Cam's.
So you're acquiring new skills now, right? Now you're the instructor. You gave them a week of serve safe from your personal experiences, what to do, what not to do, when, by the book, from the book, with the book, to make sure that everybody successfully passed those tests. Because before you guys go in the kitchen, so when you guys set foot, you can identify the issues that need to be corrected. So when you set foot, you clean your station. You make sure your kitchen is completely clean before you start. You don't want to start in a dirty kitchen, right? And then the second week is knife skills, how to cut, how to hold it. Second week, now how to identify mother sauces, right? And then praise them when they succeed. Every single day, you get a daily grade, just like now, right? All the good, the bad, and the ugly are noted down at the bottom. What you guys did great. Even so, at 9:30, which is if it's 6 p.m., at 9:30, your plate should be on the table with your sauces ready to present and to be critiqued. And you give them praise, even in constructive criticism, if that sauce didn't turn out great. What else? Praise them when they succeed and accept that they'll fail sometimes. And we told you guys, foundations, you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay because we're going to learn from those mistakes. Don't micromanage them. Give them enough freedom to develop the skills for themselves. We're not there with you guys the whole entire night because we have about 15 or 17 or 20, depending on the class size, to teach you guys those skills. And we can't be hovering over your shoulder. We got to give you some breathing room. So you are the foundation instructor. Now you're up to this point, okay? What else?
That's a big thing with micromanaging. You can't learn from your mistakes if someone's over you consecutively at every time of the hour.
Yeah, Cam.
Correct. You can't. But you can go back and correct them if it's happening in a constructive way. Not saying you're a knucklehead, don't do this again. But now you're going to go back and try to correct them before the mistake happens. So we might watch you break that hollandaise to make sure you understand how it broke. And then we're going to show you how to bring it back to life or make a new one. Okay?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Next one, but correct the mistakes before they become bad habits, right? So now you're the instructor in foundations. Now, all this kind of makes sense, right? You start slow. You build from weeks, second week, third week, fourth week, fifth week, all the way to the sixth week. What happens on the end of the 6 week block? What do you guys produce in your practical?
Chicken.
Yeah, chicken. Deboning all the way from the beginning. Then I don't know about everybody else, but in Chef Gary's class, we had to produce two. One either roasted and braised or grilled or sauteed. Yep. And then we had to have starch with one of them and a veggie with the other.
Sauces too. If you made this kind of chicken, you know, if you grilled it, you had to make a hollandaise or a butter sauce or something.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You sauteed, you had to make a sauce out of the pan. If you braise it, well, braising makes sauce. That's going to have to be good, right? So after 6 weeks, actually only 5 weeks actually in the kitchen, right? You had gone from, I don't know what this knife is, why is my knife so big, right? And then next thing you know, you're producing some real food that you can sell in a restaurant.
So
a culmination of all your learning, of all your training.
I mean, you cut my knife down for me to about that big, so I appreciated that.
Boo, James.
Think about.
Man, y'all just jealous.
Think about this.
Ain't nobody jealous.
Think about this slide, and if you're the chef instructor the first week, This is exactly what you're gonna do since day one, week 2, week 3, week 4. We're gonna start slow, teach them new skills, and to give them achievable goals. You guys have achievable goals, right? So this is, well, not just falls into the kitchen, it falls since you guys set foot into the your first block. It relates very, very well. So I had to, sorry guys, I had to stop there and kind of jar your memory and your mind from the first blocks and week 1 on the way up, and make you guys think like a chef instructor, how will you train 15 students or 15 cooks, in this case, how to create that dish or those dishes, okay? Where did my slide go?
Chef, it's a really good idea you have there to discuss training by making the example of foundations, because the foundations does a lot of what you have to do to bring a new cook on board successfully. It's a good thought.
It does, okay? So anyways, guys, just had to stop there for a minute and kind of told you guys, you know, jar your memory, and this doesn't only apply to the in the kitchen, but also applies into the in the classrooms as you go by, because I don't want you guys to go into the next kitchen block and just think I'm going to go in there and make this recipe. Think of an owner, think of a manager. How are you going to reduce costs? Look around you. How many white coats on the kitchen? If that was your kitchen, could you afford all of them under your payroll? Could you afford somebody cutting the bell pepper, those ends, and get rid of about 5%, 10, 50% of the bell pepper going to tries? That's money. So be more aware of the surroundings. Be a better steward of your product. So anyways, it's a good practice, guy. It makes you think, okay? Your employees can be your greatest assets if you let them. Your employees can be your greatest assets. It all depends on how you treat them. Unhappy employees cost company billions of dollars each year in lost revenues, settlements, and other damages. According to the research conducted by Gallup, disengaged employees cost companies $450 to $550 billion a year in lost productivity each year as a result of poor performance and high absenteeism. $450 to $550 billion. How does that translate to the everyday life in the kitchen? Give me a good scenario. How would that? How would you have you guys witness the cost going up because of employee it doesn't get treated right? What happens in the kitchen? What happens in the industry?
They quit.
Turnover.
It's like a rumor being spread and money getting wasted, as you could say.
And you lose staff members.
Have you guys ever heard the term shoemaker?
I went to a school named Shoemaker.
Like a cobbler?
Yeah.
Cobbler. Shoemaker is a cook that cuts corners. Doesn't follow the recipe right. It's rogue. Does whatever they want to do. If you have that shoemaker in your kitchen, and if you have a recipe cost card, standardized recipes, gears, and cost that out exactly how much it's going to cost you to make, if that cook is going to put a pound of pasta and the recipe only costs for 8 ounces, that's your cost, because they don't give a rat's tail about what goes out because you're not treating them well.
Okay? So would you want to micromanage that shoemaker then at that point, like, or just kick him out?
Kick him out, because if you can't say that individual, he or she, they become a liability. You want to have a liability in your restaurant?
Hell no.
The first thing is to try to correct the behaviors. If you make a reasonable, good faith effort through clearly saying what needs to be corrected, and then they won't change, and you do that a certain amount of time, and you can document that you did it a certain amount of times, then it's planned for no más shoemaker.
What about trust too? Like if you don't trust them and it's your restaurant, you out the window. Like if I can't trust you, why would I leave you to run my restaurant without me being there?
Correct.
Yeah.
You again, remove that liability, get rid of it. On that same sense, you know, I'll go back to foundations. You know, we talk about emphasizing how to wash your hands day in, day out. And the grading that I do at the end, I have a section of the grading part on how many times I observe you guys washing your hands. And that's falls under the category overall grade. If I don't see you washing your hands, when you guys bring your table to the table for you to judge it, I'm going to point it out. Hey, by the way, you should wash your hands, wear gloves, or I'd like to see you washing your hands more. And I'll point it out on the sheet, how many points that cost you for not washing your hands. So correct it, but also point out the deficiencies and why, you know, what's the consequences of not following through or making sure that it's done properly. And on the grading that I do, it's about 10%, 10 points of overall sanitation. If somebody doesn't wash their hands and they got the sanitation bucket, the station clean, that costs them 5 points because I don't want to eat nothing that's going to be cross-contaminated. I don't want to get sick. Okay.
If I've actually had to tell students, it doesn't happen very often that someone is this sloppy and this careless, but once in a while I have to tell a student, I'm not eating your food. And if I can't eat your food, you might think it's going to taste pretty good and stuff, but if I can't eat it because it's considered to be dangerous because of all the bad habits I observe while you're cooking, I'm not giving you full points for that. It might look okay, maybe you presented it on time, but I'm not going to give you points for food that I can't eat.
Right. You can't, because you can't taste it, you know? So that becomes, you know, you point out the consequences of what happened if they don't proceed forward and they don't correct their issue. And if they keep on doing it, guess what? Right? You get rid of them, okay? I'm not saying you guys in class, but in class, your grade suffers quite a deal because you're not following the instructions. You fail to follow the directions, and that's part of the protocol, okay? In a LinkedIn article by Bridget Hyacinth, she wrote, in my early career, I worked for a company that valued micromanagement. I saw some of the most loyal employees become disengaged, that their sole motivation was their paycheck until they finally left. I felt stifled, thus I didn't stay there for long. Anybody has done that before?
Yes. Anybody else? Anybody ever felt just like the boss is just on you about every tiny thing and just told?
Yeah,
I've had that.
Go ahead.
Construction. I used to duck off to the porta potty. It was really really hard to grasp.
Oh my God.
Things got to be pretty bad for someone to spend some time in a porta potty just to get away from the boss.
Very bad, especially working on a roof. No, sir. I just wanted a little break. We're laying down rubber and primer all day.
That's ugly. Yeah.
When I worked in St. Louis, I had a mean boss. He was so ugly. He was missing teeth and everything. He was so mean. Like, and he was so ignorant. And then as soon as the rush over, he wanted to be your friend. So during the rush, he we'll have the food, we'll beat him, and he'll be like, no, you slow down, and when I put this food up, you bring your food up. I'm like, hey, man, the food gonna get cold. So one of the food ended up getting cold, and I end up dropping it. So he like, clean it up. So I'm cleaning it. I'm like, I'm gonna go outside. I dropped another plate, and I kept going outside to get away from him because he was making me so mad. Like, I hated working with him. And then he want to be a friend after the shift. Nah, man, get out my face.
Anyone else?
I worked for a lady one time. She was the owner. And I'll never forget the first time I met her. She looked me up and down and was like, they have you working weekdays. It's a day shift. What else can you do? Like, just really condescending. And she wouldn't even, not just me, but anyone, wouldn't give them the chance to, like, show their skills and prove that they were an asset to her company. So needless to say, she lost everyone very quickly.
Was this a restaurant?
It was a sandwich place. Yeah.
Sandwich shop.
Let's not worry about it.
I got a story to tell you guys. You know, back a while ago, I had a job as a sous chef, and the guy that I went to work for, I knew him out of the job. I mean, out of his work. So I kind of knew him as an acquaintance. So yeah, he offered me a job, so I took it. And about a week, 2 weeks into the job, I noticed he had some really mental issues. He was on his mind, every single cook, dishwasher was out to get him. So I would come in to my shift, and we would have like a 30-minute to an hour meeting about what I needed to do and what needed to be done. In the meantime, it was already lunch service. So I had to rush out there to make sure that the stations were set up on time, the food tasted properly, they were clean, everybody was ready to go, and I couldn't go because he held me in the office for about an hour, so I couldn't go out to the lunch and make sure everything was done properly. Once he was done, he would pull me back into the office and would put one of the line cooks and just play mind games of, they're against him. Anyways, to make a long story short, the guy was not right up here in his marbles. One day I just couldn't take it, and I walked into the HR's office on my day off. I handed my uniform, my keys, and I said, I'm done. And they weren't trying to find out why. How come? I know I can't. I'm sorry. I can't do it anymore. I'm out.
I had a similar situation.
Chef Miguel and Chef
Gary, when I was in the military, I could literally just hand in your keys and walk off.
I can't hear what you're saying.
I said I had a similar situation in the Army. And in that situation, you're not allowed to, just turn in your keys and walk away or whatever. And the guy kept bugging me. And so finally I said, let's go to the wood line. And that means basically let's take our uniforms off and be men. And I wound up having to tussle with him and wound up knocking out 2 of his teeth and sending him to the hospital. But that's how bad he was as a manager. Like, he just kept bugging and getting in your hair all the time and frustrating you.
In the industry, you can't do that. Is might as well just walk away, because if you get into those physical altercations, then you're looking at assault and all kinds of battery issues against you. So might as well just walk away. Think about Amy's Amy's Bakery, how she was running employees out. Even that little girl that, just had a question and she fired her. The little girl went out in tears. How you can't treat them like that. Okay. You can't.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%. I would never do that, in the industry, but I'm just saying I had no other choice in this situation.
Yeah. In a case like that, you don't. Okay. Micromanagement is a complete waste of time. It sucks the life out of employees, fosters anxiety, and creates a high-stress work environment. It does, because and again, I'll go back to I had a lot of bosses here and there, and one of them, every time I drive into the workplace and I would drive to the parking lot, I would see his car, and I cringe, because I don't want to be there when he was there. When he was there, I can breathe, I can actually do my job. It creates anxiety and high stress in the environment. Sometimes it passes out to your cooks, and they feel it, and they get stressed out too.
I had a kitchen manager like that at Olive Garden when I first moved here. It was just always trying to get on to him. I'm like, dude, I've been in the kitchen long enough. I know what I need to do. And, and I got a short temper already, and especially when I'm in the kitchen. I like to do things, I already went over the manual, so I was doing it their OG standard, and he'll come back no, you need to do it this way, it's faster. I'm like, no, it's not OG standard. So we'll go back and forth arguing with them till the GM, she finally got involved and was like, well, he's doing it the way he's supposed to be doing it, so you kind of need to back off. And eventually I just ended up leaving. He didn't back off, and it was either that or I was going to just put a real hurting on him. And I got too much to lose to be dealing with a-holes like that.
You got to take the high road and just leave. You can't, again, don't want to be wearing those chrome bracelets in the bed and breakfast, right?
Yeah, they're not even platinum, and they hurt. So bed and breakfast sucks.
So research shows when your employees are connected and engaged, business booms. There's an economic link between employee satisfaction and company financial performance. A happy workplace culture does translate to a better stock returns. Happy employees equal happy customers, happy shareholders. You keep them happy and satisfied, you're gonna generate those results. Okay. I'm not talking kissing the butts, but make sure that they're happy and satisfied. They're not upset, or because a quiet employee, it's a very unhappy employee. Your frontline employee knows your customers best. They interact with them daily. They have the answer on how to improve customer service and your products. They use your internal tools and systems every day. They have the solutions on how to improve systems, which can save money by driving efficiencies. When you empower your employees, you promote vested interest in the company. Allow this creativity and innovation in the workplace, which is necessary to succeed in today's volatile marketplace. I had one job in the past a while ago. that my retention was extremely high, and I had nobody walking out or looking for another job or getting hired for somebody else. They stayed there. So how did I get them engaged? When there was a menu change, I would ask them for their input and ideas. What would they think it will sell better, or if they had a family recipe or somebody that they saw when they were out and ate dinner or lunch one of the days. So I had a day of a mystery basket, during the shifts, and they'll come in and do a dish, and they would look at it, vote it, have the boss taste it, and maybe we cost it out and put it on the menu and say, this is John Doe's, Jane Doe's breakfast something or the soup. You can give them props by noticing on the menu. So when the customers will come in, the loyal customers, they would ask for that soup, that dish, because they were so great, so tasty, and they cook. Will take ownership to make sure that every single time it was made the proper way. They felt empowered to make sure that it was done the right way without cutting corners.
That's not a cook you're going to lose anytime soon, as long as you keep treating them right. We got that going, Chef.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's how I was able to keep retention and not having them walk off the job or go for another place. CFO asks CEO, what happens if we invest in developing our people and they leave us? CEO, what happens if we don't and they stay? What do you guys think?
Low productivity.
Yeah, poor quality.
Uh-huh.
You guys catch that? What happens if we invest in developing our people and then they leave us, right? Oh, if we spend money on them, then they can leave, we're going to lose them. And the response is, yeah, well, what if we don't invest money in them? And then they stick around.
Lack of heroism.
Yeah.
You could put them on a probation period.
Good what?
So what happens if they don't invest? Yeah. You guys ever heard the term of a hash cook?
Like for hash browns?
What's a hash cook?
A morning cook?
No.
Like a hash house cook or a hash slinger would be the way I would have heard it, Chef.
I know about the hash slinging slasher.
It's a sloppy cook.
Dirty.
It's a cook that doesn't take pride on the dishes. Pretty much like a prison cafeteria. That's a hash cook who doesn't take pride in what they do, who doesn't care. Okay, so if you don't invest in the state, you're gonna have a hash cook. So if you invest and they leave, that means you created a successful employee. So the next one in line, they can say, "Oh, I want to make sure that I get trained properly, because if I decide to, I want to make sure that I become more valuable." Because if you leave with no valuable skills, the next employer and me as your interviewer is going to ask you, so why did you leave the company? Why you want to work for us?
So it's like an asset, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Why do you want to work for us? Why do you want to leave your company? Okay. And that's a question that is quite often asked during the interview. You guys, we never asked that question. Why you're leaving? Why you want to come work for us?
You better be prepared for that question. You should think carefully about your answer, and that should happen before you ever get asked that question.
Not often.
If you don't have a good answer for that, they can smell it.
Uh-huh.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah, so think about it, guys, okay? And girls, ladies. Employees are the backbone of any organization. In order to remain strong in an industry, employees have to be kept happy. Employees want challenging work, autonomy, recognition, respect, support, opportunities for growth and advancement, and most importantly, to be treated like human beings. Too much to ask? Any thoughts?
You gotta ask Drew.
Any thoughts on that comment?
Run it by him again, Chef.
Anyone?
Can you re-say that? Can you re-say it?
Yeah, I didn't hear it. I stepped away to the bathroom.
All right. So
I believe it's true, Chef. I mean, if people are treated well, then they are going to always give you their best because they want to be ahead. No one gets in a situation thinking, I want to be a line cook forever. So as long as you're treating me fairly, I'm getting paid, I'm getting recognized, then yes, I am going to give you my all to ensure that you see that I am an asset on your team.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? And there's a reason why I'm asking you guys this question. Okay, I'm going to read again, guys, real quick here. Employees are the backbone of any organization. In order to remain strong in an industry, employees have to be kept happy. Employees want challenging work, autonomy, recognition, respect, support, opportunities for growth, and advancement. For most important, to be treated like human beings. Think for a minute.
So with no employees, no business.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you have to have somebody to work for you. And if they're not happy, they're not going to do the best, and you're not going to make the money or produce any good food.
Well, I think Chef Gary might know where I'm going with this, but think a little bit more deeper. Those are great answers, but think a little bit more of what the exercise we just had not too long ago with me putting you guys as the instructor. Okay, so let me give you my thoughts. Hopefully I have your wheel spinning. Okay, employees are the backbone of organization. Okay, in order to remain strong in industry, employees have to be kept happy. Employees want challenging work, autonomy, recognition, respect, support, opportunities for growth, and advancement. And most importantly, they like to be treated like human beings. Doesn't that relate to the kitchen, the classroom? What happens when you go in the kitchen? First of all, what happens when you're in a classroom? You're treated with respect, but you should be treated with respect by your instructor, correct?
Right.
And you guys are being challenged, hopefully the day before, to do your research and your homework on the recipe of the day's production. We're challenging you guys to think of what needs to be done, okay? So there's a challenge, okay? Autonomy, recognition. Recognition comes in when we go to your table and tell you guys, hey, awesome job on those mashed potatoes. Great duchesse. That bechamel is awesome. The hollandaise is nice and velvety. My mayonnaise it broke, but great job fixing it. We give you that feedback on the day of and also in your grading, okay? What else? Opportunities for growth and advancement. Once you guys have completed the first block, then your next kitchen block, not Jeanette, next kitchen block should be culinary arts 201. Now you're going to get a whole bunch of new set of skills. If you haven't been exposed to baking, pastry, charcuterie, breakfast, all those things, you're going to start keeping on building your building blocks of your experience and your knowledge. Okay.
Did you say charcuterie breakfast or charcuterie / breakfast?
Charcuterie / and then breakfast, because you
okay.
Go through charcuterie and then breakfast. So
okay.
You get an opportunities for growth and advancement. What else? And most of all, not just as students, you guys have been treated like human beings, because when we talk to you guys one-on-one, we are very sincere and honest when we criticize your dishes and plates. Not because what we want and we feel like it should taste like, because we've been in the industry for such a long time that our palate has developed to go from one extreme to the other and identify both and what needs to be done to enhance those recipes or what needs to be fixed, not according to a personal taste, but what it should be done. Granted, some of us like a lot of salt. I really don't. I don't like pepper.
Chef Gary, a lot of salt.
Some dishes do require salt,
Chef always has in the end exactly the amount of salt that the dish should have.
Salt is just an enhancement. It's not to emphasize the dish, but it's to enhance the natural flavors. So think about that, guys. Okay, think about in the kitchens, in our labs, what is being done. Okay, yeah, that was a good pause for a minute. Okay, so anyways, okay, I had to pause it for a minute and kind of get you guys a little spinning. Okay. How to treat your employees will determine the fate of your company. You treat them like crap, you're going to shut down. Amy's Bakery, Rocco's Espiritu. Daniel was able to keep some of his employees, some of it, not all of them. Okay. What else? Your employees are most valuable assets. They don't take them for granted or treat them poorly. They are the best brand ambassadors. Employees who have been pushed to the point where they no longer care, will no longer go the extra mile. They will not take the initiative to solve problems. They will end up treating customers the same way you treat them. Any thoughts?
That's a heck of a thought there, Chef, isn't it?
It is. Guys?
Treat them badly, they're going to treat your customers badly.
Thoughts, guys?
It reminds me, like that whole point that you just made reminds me, I don't know if everybody's seen it or not. Hopefully everybody has. But the skit done a couple years back of Bon Qui Qui and King Burger, where every time somebody does something she doesn't like, she calls security on them or threatens to stab them.
He says, "I will cut you."
There you go.
What? Who said this?
You haven't seen it, Chef?
No.
What?
Look up Bon Qui Qui King Burger skit.
Okay, okay. I'll take a look at it. That's the homework. Bon Qui Qui Burger skit. Okay, that's my homework to look at. Okay.
It is hilarious, but it I guess it's just meant to be funny, but it describes somewhat how you just made that scene. Like when customers or when your employees are unhappy, they treat the customers poorly, and that's what she does. Like you just got it's hilarious.
Okay.
Anyone else? So, okay. Best ambassadors. Let me stop here. Let me go back and tell you guys some stories. Don't take them for granted. Don't treat them poorly. They are your best brand ambassadors. Employees have been pushed to the point where they no longer care, will no longer go the extra mile. They will not take the initiative to solve the problems. They will end up treating customers the same way you treat them. So going back a week ago, the first week, I kind of show you guys a picture of my staff, right? And some of the pictures how we did the brunches. We had I had some breakfast cooks that would come in at 4:35 in the morning and then work until 2 o'clock, pushing out 600 covers for breakfast, 300, whatever the case was. And when we were busy, the busiest we were in that kitchen, we had the National Guard come into our hotel for 4 days. We had to feed them breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And every night we were so busy that I would ask for help. And I would ask them, they wanted to work overtime. They didn't have to. If they could stay and help us, push out the food. And once we're done, they were, they could go home. Coming in at 4:30 in the morning, you think some of the cooks want to stay until 6, 7 p.m. My breakfast cooks were the first ones to volunteer because the way they were treated, not just like human beings, but valuable employees with help and support, from uniforms to the product to equipment to making sure the system was right, and to make sure that when the customers would come in, we had a system in place that they would get bogged down. They were the first ones in line to volunteer for overtime during those times. When I also had interns come in to work in the kitchen, I had interns from France, England, Thailand, Chile, Indonesia, India, Philippines, Jamaica. What else? Madagascar and Argentina. So whenever they would leave, we'll give them a little certificate with the accompanying logo, letterhead, and a little stock card paper, and we'll print that in color and give them a certificate saying that they completed their externship and so forth, so on, and for them to go, back to their home country. Well, the first year we did that, we had so much success back in 2001, 2002, that the next year I was getting a lot of CVs or resumes through the Alliance Abroad for students that had heard how well they were treated and how well they work with us. They wanted to come back and work with us, the company, and that's how word got out. Because the way they were treated, not just like grunt workers. I know a lot of kitchens treated employees like grunt workers. Here's a 50-pound bag of onions, go chop it up, go julienne it, go Bernard or whatever. they were treated with almost respect, like human beings, but also part of the team, part of the family. That when they went back, some of them actually came back 2 or 3 years afterwards on their different visa program to work for us. So you got to treat them right, and you will get the return. Okay. Extra mile. Okay. What else? Instead of just focusing on the bottom line, why not invest in the people responsible for the bottom line? At the University of Pennsylvania, researchers discovered that business spent 10% of the revenue on capital improvements, saw 3.9% productivity increase, but get this, when that same 10% was invested in employees, productivity went 8.5. 8.5. What does that mean? How does that translate?
Productivity went up a long way. It's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
If I could share a little quick story about a hotel in San Antonio where the particular crew in that one kitchen was mostly women, and they did salads, and they did they were what we call them pantry, or we refer to them as garde manger. That's common, right?
Right.
And they all worked in a little skinny kitchen about the size of maybe one of those small, maybe smaller than the classrooms that we were in when we were in the new classroom section. And they had nothing but prep tables all the way down the middle, and one wall was completely lined with two-door refrigerators with racks inside of them. And they had to make hundreds of salads, thousands of things at times, and many different big events on a given day. And the sous chef, there was always one sous chef that was in charge of kind of watching that room, but they had a couple leads in there that the sous chefs would go to, so they didn't have to deal with too many individuals, and kind of a clear communication thing. It was pretty good overall, but that kitchen had one way in and only one way out, and it had no natural light. It was like working inside of a box. And we got a new general manager at the hotel, and he was having meetings every day and asking people to please fix this. Yes, we will spend the money. Please spend the money to take care of that. You've got a refrigeration problem here. You got a drainage problem. You got a slippery floor because of a leak. We're fixing things all the time. He's really improving the things a lot. And one of the things he did was he spent, I don't know, like $1,200 to have a nice big hole cut in a block wall so the salad department people could see outside in downtown San Antonio. They could see the river walk. They could see some sunlight. They could see some green out there. And the whole place was coming alive. It was like a dead place. Everybody was unhappy, wanting to leave, walking around not really happy to be at work and everything. And this manager was in there. He was fixing things and changing things and stopping and talking to people. And people were like waking up and getting good, you know. And the operators of that hotel fired that general manager. And a rumor I heard, I never knew for sure that it was true, but the rumor that I heard was that they had a difference with him over capital improvements like budgets for the building repairs and stuff. And what specifically they fired him over was the $1,200 he spent to put a nice clear plate glass window in there so those ladies would have some light in that kitchen. You know,
I feel like that's kind of messed up though, Chef.
It's very messed up.
Exactly, because there was, as you said, it was just a box and there was no natural light. Like
it was, and they had to work like during River Parade and Fiesta and Parade of Lights towards Christmas time and all that stuff. Those people put in 9-10 hours a day at times, and during the winter, if you get there at 6 in the morning and you work till 4 in the afternoon, you don't see the sun for a whole week. Right? So I think it was terrible. I think they should have thanked that guy, but they fired him instead. And I'll never forget it. And I know who the operators are, and a couple of their sons are successful chefs. That's all good, but I have a heck of an attitude about those hotel operators because of that decision to fire that guy.
What do you guys think?
I mean, if that was me, I would have fought that one. Because, like, as Chef Gary said, you're not seeing the light of day. If you're working 6 days a week, right, if you're that busy that you have to work 6 days a week, you're not seeing the sun probably for 7 because you're going to be sleeping on that 7th day, you know?
Right. On the seventh day, you'd probably pay a couple bills and do some laundry, maybe clean out your fridge or something, and then it's time to crash because you're going back to work the next morning.
Exactly. That's insane.
It's a heck of a life, and I don't think that good restaurant operators do that today. I think some somewhere do, but I don't think it's ever a good policy. And poor operators, thoughtless.
You gotta take care of employees. And I was giving you guys some key elements that I used to do from my personal experience a while ago. During my monthly meetings, we'll conduct my monthly meetings. We hit certain subjects that needed to be addressed. But I've also had, again, the fruit baskets from my local purveyor company, from wherever produce I was buying from, being donated. Plus also whatever, Cisco might have had that they had a good price on them or good rebates. I would talk to my boss, hey, can I purchase this for my staff? Can I go ahead and maybe cook it, fry it, whatever the case is, just for my meetings? So keep my employees happy. They didn't cost the company nothing, maybe like $20, $30 a case of maybe some cheese sticks, some pizzas, whatever that we wanted to buy that was on sale from the company. And the fruit baskets were totally free, plus, whatever I can get from notepads, baseball hats. Even a while ago, back in 2000, when I used to buy, little gift cards, so we used to get the little CD boom boxes and, raffle those in the kitchen. It was a good morale booster. You guys are future owners and chefs. Think about ways to motivate your staff, okay? How to motivate your staff, how to keep them happy. You don't want to lose them. The ones you want to get rid of are the ones that become a liability for the majority part. How are you going to motivate your staff? What gets you motivated? Okay. What gets you guys going? Okay. So let me ask you that. Let me ask you guys all this. Okay. Now that we're here, and again, under certain circumstances, but when you're in the kitchen, what motivates you to come in the next day and produce that recipe?
For me, it's learning something new. Trying something new. But on a job, I definitely want to be incentivized. There needs to be some type of incentive for me. I mean, I'm going to give it my best, but there's my best, and then there's always me going above and beyond. And as long as I'm incentivized, then I will always go above and beyond, because my drive, my own passion is not always going to be enough, because we're going to have bad days. But if I have that, okay, you go this extra mile, this is what can happen for you. Even if I'm having a bad day, then I'm going to come in and I'm going to push myself, because I know that there is more.
Incentivized?
I
Something
feel
that I saw
what Mercedes is saying is something that I agree with 100%. And then on top of that, like, not only is it just coming in and having something to challenge me or do something else, it's also to have something new. Because when you do like a repetitive motion over and over and over and over and over, finally you're just like, oh my gosh, will this just end? And on top of that, it's nice to be treated well. And I will go to bat. Like, I would rather take less money and work for somebody that treats me well than deal with some jerk just to make an extra couple bucks an hour. So in my retrospect to this is, as long as it's something new, it's something challenging, and then you treat me with respect, then I'm down. I'll work my butt off, and I don't care if I'm bleeding out my ears. I'll be there and I'll bust my butt.
Yeah.
For me, it's my son, and making sure he has all the things that he wants. Because when I was growing up, it wasn't like that. Like, I didn't have a lot of what people have today. Like, I didn't have any of the things I have today. I didn't have much. So I want him to have everything possible that he could have, and I will work my butt off to get to the top of anything as high as I can climb. and it doesn't matter. I mean, I get it, the repetitive thing, but if it's repetitive, it makes it easy, to do that. And it just shows, oh, this guy's really strong at doing all of these things. Let's move him up and give him a little bit more responsibility. And for me, that's motivation enough, between that and my son. So
some people like the repetitiveness. I mean, when it gets old, it does. I mean, it can get old for anybody. Some people that'll get old on them early and quick. Other people like to do it for a long time and master it. I kind of tend to like repetitive stuff a little bit because I get to enjoy. It's kind of like a little ritual. You do the same thing. Maybe I'm better at it today. Maybe it can be a downer if you're not really enjoying developing the skill. But if you really want to develop the skill, you get a lot of satisfaction out of just really honing it and getting better at it. And different people, have a different response to doing repetitive work. Definitely good. It's good to have growth on the job. I bet all of you guys would agree that it's good to have growth. You don't want to do too much repetitive stuff too many days in a row. Yeah,
I agree with you, Chef. I mean,
yeah,
I love being in the kitchen, and I love trying to up that bar every time I'm in there. I'll make a dish. I'm like, then I'll go home thinking, what can I do to make that dish even more, enhance it even more, and try to perfect.
Right. Somebody might say, oh, that's repetitive. And Daniel, you might say, no, that's me getting it down. I got this thing, or I'm gonna, So.
And that's what I was getting at. Like, I get it. Repetitive gets repetitive and annoying if you're there for a long time. And I didn't mean like for an extended period of time. I meant like, oh, you're stuck here for 2 months tops, but once you're done, you've got that skill like that. You could do it with your eyes closed. That's what I meant by that.
Yeah.
Now for me, and I love to, I enjoy getting feedback from customers, especially when I put out a really great dish and, and the servers come back, they're like, wow, Danny, they said that was the best steak they've ever had. Those mashed potatoes were just so nice and creamy. I get to enjoy and, satisfaction, because I'm putting pride in everything that I do, and to have that feedback in return saying, wow, that's a great job. And it's a real big ego boost for me. And, I just enjoy it. I enjoy cooking, enjoy feeding people,
Psychologist calls it a positive stroke, right?
Oh yeah, most definitely. And just
like to get that good feeling.
And at the end of the day, it's not repetitiveness; it's improving your skill. Because as a chef, there's always room to improve and learn and grow. So you gotta ask yourself sometimes, like, is this chef being mean, or is he trying to improve me and get me better as a person? Because as a young kid, when I was working in fast food, I took my boss as being more of like a butt head, and him just picking on me because I'm the new guy and I never worked fast food. But more that I look back, and he was really just trying to get me prepared for what I want to do with my life. And I told him I wanted to be a cook or whatever. So he was like, yeah, that's why I was really on you that hard back in the day.
That's awesome. So I guess the trick as a person learning the ropes and learning the way up is we all got to find, don't we have to figure out, like, okay, is this person just being a butt, or is this person trying to help me get good?
Yeah.
Like kind of like.
Or are they just making themselves happy, or are they unhappy and they're just going to take it out on me? So when it's the right boss, you'd probably stay with them and learn and enjoy it. When it's coming at you from the wrong reasons and stuff, I think a lot of times people are smart enough to know, and eventually they're going to make a decision, get out of there.
So basically, like constructive criticism, like they might sound like they're being on your ass all the time, but they're just trying to help you out.
Correct.
Who's that? I can only see iPhone. Who that?
That's Austin.
It's Austin.
Okay.
So motivation, what motivates you to go in day out? Especially now, when we go back in the kitchen, what motivates you, to go further from, having your son to furthering your knowledge and skills to, with us, one of the things that I try to I don't know if you guys caught it or not, since day one, I kind of showed you guys a slide, what we're going to be covering for the whole entire 6 weeks. Now, in each class that I get, a new class on day one, I show them a slide of what's coming up ahead, all the way until the 6th week. And day in, day out, we're going to talk about today's menu. We're going to talk about the techniques, the region, but I'm also going to give you, or not to give you, but show you what tomorrow's menu is going to be. It's on the board, and before we leave class every single day, we talk about the next day's menu. And the homework assignment is to communicate with each other, figure out who's going to do what, and how you're going to execute that menu. So my whole thought process is to get you guys excited to come in the next day and to be better prepared to produce that menu. Because one of the assignments that you know motivates me is every day is a brand new day. Every day we take the food and on a higher level, and if we're not, we learn from our mistakes. And we get excited because we don't know what's going to happen the day of. We have so many students, so many classes. Each class is different. Each student is different. But the food that comes out, same ingredients, same technique, same menu items, but it's totally different than the previous class or maybe even higher. So again, motivation, it can be monetary, it can be family, it can be personal, or it can be self-gratitude, like, you know, Daniel Rodriguez was talking about. It builds his confidence and his ego too, to make sure that the customer is well satisfied, because now he knows that he did something right and he had the customer walk away happy, hopefully thinking about that dish that they ate and about who made it. He wants to make sure that his name is on their mind and on their hearts. And when they come back, they want to make sure that he's there to cook the meal. And that's how to generate profit. Okay, motivation. Okay. What else? Where we go? Where did we left off? Here we go. How to treat your staff properly. Okay. 8.5% increase productivity. Employees are the heartbeat of the company. If the heartbeat stops beating, it's flatline, right? It's flatline. No productivity, no profits, no nothing. Okay. Training and development. Okay. A study conducted by the American Society of Training and Development, ASTD. Okay. ASTD, American Society for Training and Development, notes that companies offering comprehensive training programs of 218% more income per employee, 218% more income, having the right training programs. On the other hand, a full 40% of employees who receive poor job training leave their position within the first year. When properly executed, the program delivers a lean and fighting fit workforce and an increase in production, sales, and profit, making you worries about employee turnover rate when the onboarding costs a thing of the past. Okay. What is onboarding? Have you guys ever heard of onboarding? Anybody?
You spend some serious bucks on it, don't they, Chef?
Yeah. Anybody?
The onboarding process, like getting a new guy.
Uh-huh. What's an onboarding?
Indoctrination, I guess. What they call it, indoc. The starting from nothing, I guess, and taking somebody up to speed to what they need, how they need to get them where they need to do their job every day without supervision or without where they're self-efficient, I guess, in their job.
To some degree, it even happens. It kind of happens before all the training and stuff, doesn't it? I mean, it's like going through everything and having them meet people and having them understand the culture of the company, things like that, right, guys? Has anybody ever been brought into a company and then been put through like a whole few days? I think maybe Kat mentioned it, but someone in our group here tonight did say that they like were brought in and put through a whole bunch of blah, 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 you know, slide presentations and stuff. Sometimes those are pretty good, right? Sometimes not. Yeah.
Working with Amazon, I did.
Did they call it onboarding?
Yeah. It's an onboarding class.
Yeah. Is it kind of like when they get documents of management, electrical forms, how it works, where it came from, where
Get in your mic, Danny. I can't hear you at all. It's low.
Stuff of that nature. Like, is that around the right way?
Yeah, Daniel, we're not hearing you very well.
I can't hear you, Danny. You got to scoot up.
I said, is it kind of like getting document management about the management, electrical forms, about different stuff, the employee handbook, orientation, workflow, flow management, that kind of stuff?
Those kinds of things. It's some time devoted directly to getting you set up to know the things you need to know to work in there. They'll go through things with you. They'll spew a little bit of philosophy at you. They'll ask you who you are. You'll introduce yourself. Other people introduce themselves. We're trying to let you be comfortable, let you know a little bit about this mess you just got yourself into. So it's not all shock when you come in a couple days later for your work.
Like so kind of like an orientation before, like we do like a college. Like when we go to college, we go to orientation to know what's going on.
Right, Chef? You could say that's Christian messed me up with that. You could say indoctrination. It's probably true to some degree. You could call it onboarding. You could call it orientation, right? Yeah.
Yes, Chef. Yes, Chef.
Cross the T's and dot the lowercase J's.
So think about your orientation for school.
Yeah.
You guys had to come in on Saturday, right? And then the chef of your foundation class spoke to you guys, along with Chef Robin and so forth, so on. That was kind of an onboarding. And prior to that, you probably guys had some guidelines of what to do, what not to do from the front office. And even so, when after sanitation or even during through sanitation, you guys were given a tour of the kitchens. This is K1, this is K2, K3, K4. This is the loading dock. This is the trash, smoking area. This is the classrooms. This is dry storage. That is onboarding. That's what onboarding is all about. Okay. So even in school, you are exposed to onboarding as well too. Right?
Yes, Chef Miguel.
Now, where must I go? All right, guys, let's take a 10-minute break. We'll come back at 8, what is it now? 8:15, let's come back at 8:25, okay? Right, Sir Gary? I know Cameron.
Indeed, Chef. 10 minutes.
Falling asleep, Cameron?
Am I what?
You're falling asleep, or you too comfortable laying on the side?
Nah. My sister had called me. I had literally just picked up the phone. So, and then my eyes open. Nah, I'm just kidding.
I see.
Gary, do you have any secret spots around Austin that you like to go fishing for largemouth bass?
I don't really fish largemouth bass, but right now it happens the white bass should still be biting pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
So one place to go is the San Gabriel River up north of Taylor. I believe that is upstream of Granger Lake. It's about 35 miles northeast of our Austin school location. And I can give you directions specifically if you want to like contact me like tonight or tomorrow, and I can tell you how to find the place out there and even tell you what to go out there with for tackle.
Oh, well, do you know if Lake Travis is any good, or if it's like fishing in a toilet? Or
It's good when it's hot.
You know, it moves a lot of water. So I mean, I know it's a lake. I know some big powerboats drive around in there. There's probably some pollutants, but that's always true. The problem with eating this out of these lakes around here doesn't happen by eating out of them a few times a year. It happens if you're the homeboy up there and you live 2 miles from the water and you fill your freezer with white bass every spring. You know that, and you live on that a lot. That if there's toxins in the water, that's when those are going to get you. Like 2, 3, 4 delicious meals every season out of local fish. That's not going to be dangerous at all.
Yeah, I actually just I think it's been about a month now, but I went out and caught 4 or 5 catfish here in the Cibolo Creek in Bernie. and
Yeah.
they just stocked it. So I mean, it was kind of shooting fish in a barrel, but
Right. Yeah.
but it was a lot of fun. I mean, you know, put up a fight, and it didn't take too long because they, you know, stock in a creek. It, you know,
They
it's
wore out
pretty.
pretty quick. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but now there's tons of people down there, and I'm sure it's getting harder and harder to catch one.
Lake Travis probably still has some striper action and some white bass if you have a boat. If you don't have a boat, you got to get in the river above the lake, and then you can Google it and learn it. The white bass thing will be over probably about in the next month or so, but it still should be going on right now. And they're delicious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Chef, we ready to roll? Is it time?
Oh, he's muted.
Can't hear you, Chef.
You've muted yourself, Chef.
Chef, you're muted.
Let's play charades.
Sorry, my dog was
M.
Onboarding. Recruiters have to advertise on the job sites, conduct interviews, run backgrounds checks, and of course, dispense and retrieve all the paperwork associated with adding an employee. Did you know that according to the source, Burson by Deloitte, the average cost per hire is almost $4,000 per hire. Average cost, $4,000. Keep that in mind. Number will vary depending on the job level and on hiring practices, but every hiring manager can relate to the problem of the inflated talent of acquisition costs. Okay, onboarding requires a lot of paperwork, benefits enrollments, tax forms, employee handbooks, NDAs, arbitration agreements, and so on and so forth. But if you probably don't spend enough on paper and ink to make significant dent in your budget, the real cost comes from the time it takes to manage the completion of the paperwork and other administrative aspects of onboarding. Let's say a recruiter makes $25 an hour and you hire 50 new employees per year. It takes about 10 hours of admin time to process the documents. Adds up to $12,500 per year. Probably a conservative estimate for larger companies. So
very conservative, yeah.
It's cost money to hire, okay? Onboarding, okay? Where they go? Okay. Cost money to hire, guys. Follow the 7 simple but really. Where we go? Follow the 7 simple but effective steps to create successful training and development programs. 1 through 7. Okay. 1. Assess the organization training development needs. Okay. What do you need? Okay. What does the company need? Okay. You have a need and you want to train, you want the training program to address that. It may be a new product that requires a total revamping of the production line, or just want some changes to increase the output of an existing product. Of both counts, you want employees to understand and adapt themselves to the new production flow and increase the inline efficiency. 2, define the training objective. The business goal has to be defined. Now let's see how to assess the training requirements for this goal. You need to be clear about step 1, the business goal, the training supports, the roles and responsibilities of your training employees in achieving that goal, and the kind of training needed to ensure that they are able to fulfill these roles and responsibilities. Define. So defining this kind of training objective is the most important aspect of the program. It gives the program direction and also serves as a yardstick to measure success. Put simply, the training will be judged as a successful if your employees are able to successfully perform the tasks they were trained for. Okay? In order for this to happen, the objective must be stated clearly, and it should make sense that everyone involved. It should be achievable. It should be relevant to the training, and it should be measurable. Put the objectives clearly across your employees and praise understanding for the same through tests, quizzes, and practical exercises. So you got to train even in tests and quizzes. Here, I'm going to show you guys a little quiz that I used to use on my line staff, okay? Let's see if I can share. Not that one. This is the quiz that I used to give my cooks. Okay. Where is it? Okay. Cook's quiz. Okay. Finish the phrase when in doubt. So, as you guys have gone to ServSafe, I'm gonna give you this quiz over the Zoom. Give me your answer. What is the temperature danger zone? Anybody knows that? Does anybody know?
40 to 135.
What is it?
40 to 135.
Good answer. What do we need to do before we put our gloves on in between changing gloves?
Wash hands.
Wash your hands.
How long can the food product be held hot?
4 hours.
4 hours. When we're heating food, what is the best hot, what is being held hot and what has gotten below proper hot holding temperatures?
165.
Right. Easy, what? Easy, right? What are the proper steps for cooling food?
Oh, you can get an ice wine. You can put it in a hotel.
That's not the proper steps. That's different methods.
Oh, proper steps for cooling food. Oh, just explain one.
What must you do to cool a 5-gallon soup, 5-gallon stock pot of soup?
You put it in a new pan, a metal pan, and then you put it in an ice bath.
Okay.
You could also put it in like separate containers for smaller quantities, and then put it on ice until it cools down. Get it down to temperature as quickly as possible.
What's your first temperature goal? And a time frame for it?
Get under 70.
Down to 70 when?
In under 2 hours.
2
right?
hours. 2 hours.
Then 4 hours to get it down to
40. Get it down to 30. Not 30.
below 41, right?
41. Yeah, 41. I was just saying that.
Good
You told me
guys.
something.
How do we clean the slicer?
Take it apart.
Backtrack.
Turn it off. Unplug it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How do we clean the can opener?
Turn it off.
You clean it, right? Like you just deattach it. You talking about the chef ones, right? The chef where you just deattach it and rinse it.
You get it out of the holder, you take it to the dish pit, you hose underneath the blade, you open another blade, hose it, and then you scrub it with a grease scrubber, trying to get the food debris and spray it again, and soak it in soap, spray it again, then sanitize and put it and let it dry. Okay. How do we clean the buffalo chopper? We don't have one of those, but same thing. You unplug it. Okay. And again, trim tracks. That's a different concept. That's a different system that I had at workplace. So trim tracks. I'm gonna stop here for a minute. You as operators are trying to reduce the overproduction, overwaste, and trimming of the product. Hence the name Trim Tracks. So in this place that I used to work for, we had a system called Trim Tracks. Anything that was the outer leaves of the cabbage, the lettuce, the butt ends of the tomatoes, the peppers, the peelings of the pineapple, the honeydew, the crown of the pineapple, anything that was food was going to go in the trash was put in a 5-gallon Cambro. Okay, it was called Trim Tracks, and it was measured by quarts. Anything that was overproduced, that was not reusable for the next day, had to put the Trim Tracks. Everything that came back from the buffet that was not usable in the Trim Tracks. So at the end of the day, we tallied how many quarts of food was in the Trim Tracks, from the peelings of the onions, the carrots, the celery trimmings, overproduction of the buffet, and so forth, so on. Everything was tallied and then written down and then thrown in the trash. At the end of the day, everything was tallied and put on a separate sheet. At the end of the week, we averaged how many quarts of Trim Tracks were going to the trash. At the end of the month, we submitted how many quarts of Trim Tracks were thrown into the trash. It used to give us $3 per quart of Trim Tracks towards food costs. Sometimes we get bucas of money, sometimes we get no money at all or very little. the whole goal of the Trim Tracks program was to make sure that you were aware of how much money was going into the trash. Because if every quart was worth $3, that's how much money you were going to the trash. So if you receive a lot of Trim Tracks money back towards your food costs, that should, raise a little light bulb in your head and alert, why are we getting a lot of money in Trim Tracks? What's happening in the kitchen? Why are we throwing so much food away? Is it overproduction? Is it over waste? What's the cost of getting Trim Tracks? Because the goal was to reduce Trim Tracks to only the certain things that could not be utilized, like onion peelings, the celery leaves that were not going to be utilized, the peelings of the pineapple, the honeydew skin, the watermelon skin. Those things are Trim Tracks. So Trim Tracks, it can happen, and you can maybe want to instill a system in your place of recording every single scrap of food that's going to go in the trash. Was it they're peeling an orange, honeydew, banana, overproduction that comes back, you can't save anymore. Anything that's going to the trash, measure it and see how much money you throw in the trash. Anyways, that was Trim Tracks. So we're preparing food, when preparing to cut food with a knife, what must you have to complete this task properly? In this case, cut glove. Everybody had a cut resistant glove in my kitchen. Everybody. Just like in our kitchens, you got to have your hat and your apron. Part of the uniform mise en place, everybody was given a cut resistant glove, and they had to keep it clean sometimes, and they always had to wear it before they began working. Because again, the company didn't want to pay X amount of money, workers' comp, somebody cut the finger off, okay? What else? What should be done after filling your sanitation bucket with sanitizer, okay? What color is the sanitation bucket, and what color is the cleaning solution bucket? So these are the quizzes I used to conduct with my cooks.
Red and green.
Yes, red and green, right? So these are the onboarding or the training on how to proceed and have, how to train the staff properly and keep food safe. And that was on a monthly meeting that we used to do. Okay. So 3, training program design. Have a roadmap of your plans ready before you put the same into action. A complete plan includes learning and instructional methods, content matter, content flow, and other such aspects. Design, keeping in mind the needs of your employees and not that of the trainer. Always create content around your training objective. Design using the training principles for adults. Introduce as many practical sessions as possible for the program. Design an interactive program. Introduce Q&A sessions. Break the sessions into short segments. Ensure proper flow and connect before the segments. Okay. So on the training, guys, all on the training. Okay. Adopt the training principle for adults. Unless your coworkers is geared towards teens, remember that you are proposing to train adults. The training program has to be a factor in the unique learning characteristics. They are experienced, self-motivated, and goal-oriented, preferred training that helps their advancement, preferred task-oriented and relevant training programs, and have pride in industry knowledge that needs to be respected. Okay, training program implementation. This is where all the preparation that you have done so far will actually be rolled out. A few options to remember for effective implementation: schedule training activities well in advance and mobilize the required resources. Decide the location of the program based on the size and what kind of training rooms you need. Okay. Evaluate your training program. The last phase before you can sit and relax. Evaluate the design and development of the program, the effectiveness of the program, and the degrees of success achieved. Now, it seems like a lot, but again, what is your homework for tomorrow? What's going to be your homework for tomorrow, guys? Ladies, girls, man?
Watch the video and
Daniel. Go ahead, Christian. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you got it. Well, I know it was watch the video and talk about how you would train the person in the video you're going to share with us. How we would have done it, I think.
And you guys have a good advantage because the first week I shot you guys what I used to use for training before my new hire line cooks used to hit the kitchen floor, right? You guys have that extensive sheet. The rules and regulations, okay? So you guys have an advantage. So again, that's going to be your homework. So employee feedback, get employee feedback about the program. Was it informative, helpful, riveting? Do they have any suggestions to make it better? Collecting this kind of feedback from employees to participate in training sessions will help you come up with a new and improved program versions. Now, I'm going to stop here for a minute. Think about this, guys. Employee feedback, okay? How does that relate? And I'm using school, I'm using the kitchen labs or classes, even this one. How does that relate to the course that you're taking?
It helps, I guess, the next people learn. And, well, it helps the instructor get better with the feedback that they provide.
So what
criticism that can help whoever has to revise whatever program they have to correct anything or adjust.
You're on the right track. Yeah.
It help change a person from being brutally mean to coming down, be a down-to-earth person when training somebody. It can help them.
It's true that even if you're not rethinking the training program itself, a good instructor should learn from what students say in the feedback.
It can make your job, it can make your job more reasonable for people to come in and continue working instead of hearing bad reviews about a job. Oh, they don't train people. They don't even listen to what we got to say. They just want us to do it their way or the highway.
All right. And how does that relate to the kitchen blocks here, whether they're in Jeanette's or in the blocks? What is the employee feedback? How does that translate to every block that you go through? I don't know if I'm posting the question right.
Let's hear a new person talk, guys. We talk all class.
Got Austin, Valerie, Hannah, what else? Nick, Shaheen, Yossi, Aubrey. Come on, guys, speak up.
Can you restate the question?
So the slide says employee feedback. Get employee feedback about the program. Was it informative, helpful, riveting? Do they have any suggestions to make it better? Collecting this kind of feedback from employees who participate in training sessions will help you become up with new improved program versions. Now, how do you translate this employee feedback to student feedback on the instructors? What kind of tools do you guys have to give feedback back at the end of each block?
I know they send out surveys. I think.
Like the best way that we learn.
You said what tools do we have to provide feedback, Chef? The portal.
You have to do a survey at the end of the block.
Course survey, yeah.
Bingo. That's what I'm looking for, you guys. That's the answer. Okay, so it's not just about the workplace, feedback by the employees. Think about every block that you go through. You get trained on certain cuisine, on certain lectures, certain topics, on certain new knowledge that you get. But your feedback is very imperative. At the end of the block, we ask you guys, or we push you to say, hey, the surveys are open on Monday, week 5. If everybody takes them by the end of the day, you guys will get extra credit, okay? Now we're trying to incentivize, like Ramirez Mercedes, incentivize everybody to take the surveys, okay? And sometimes, most of the time we ask you guys, be politically boisterous when you post your surveys, and don't go out the beaten path, calling MF mofos and idiots and morons and what have you not. Be somewhat professional on how you give your feedback on the instructor, the school, the program, the whole 9 yards, because it goes to a third party. And when we get them back, we read them. And then based on that feedback, we adjust our teaching methods for the next time, okay, for the next block. So we every day, every time we evolve for the next block. We may carry some of the same principles as far as the objectives, but the way that we deliver the message or the way we teach might change from one block to the other one. Not being in a bad way, in a good way, okay?
Yeah, I think that's the thing is you can't use the same thing that worked 10, 15 years ago, because the students they're always changing. It's never going to be, we're not the same kind of students that were in Escoffier 10 years ago.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly. And learning situation change also. Some people have different learning styles, and you got to be able to be versatile and help those people learn those procedures in different ways. And yeah.
So employee feedback is useful because employee feedback also trains your peers how to be better managers. In this case, student feedback through the surveys help us to be better instructors, to give you guys the best that we have to offer and to push you guys forward to be more successful. Okay. So again, it's not just for the industry, it's also here in school too. Okay. So employee feedback, student feedback. Okay. Good. Employee assessment. This must be done during the training session. Evaluate how much employees have actually understood about the training. This can be done using mini quizzes, practical exercises. In brief, you want to make sure that they are aware of the training objective of the process to achieve it. So you got to make sure that, you ask them, to evaluate, what has been done. Program assessment. After you train employees, report back to work, conduct an on-job evaluation of the training program to measure its effectiveness and achieve the objectiveness. Okay. So assessment, it's an ongoing thing. New employee orientation, some of the general information. Orientation is the first few weeks of a new hire's experience. Is actually the most critical time period in which the new employee learns more about the company as a whole. The purpose of this employee orientation program are to give new hires basic information about the company, orient them about the company initiatives, reduce first day anxiety, and help the new hire to become productive in the right way. Well, no two hires are experiencing the same things. Designing a new employee orientation program that provides certain fundamentals will help to ensure that employee stays on board for a long time. Even if you're a small restaurant, is not a big corporation, you want to make sure you spend at least about a day or two orienting the new hire. You don't want to just throw them in the lion's den. Okay. So here some of the top three examples of new orientation programs. Okay. One, self-directed employee orientation program. In many companies, new hires are able to learn a great deal during the first week on the job by reviewing a series of self-directed orientation materials. These items may include new hire orientation videos, written handouts, online training modules. During this time period, a supervisor will monitor, lead the new hire to make sure that information is absorbed and any questions are answered. Self-directed employees orientation can be a convenient way to learn the basic of a company mission and what is expected for new hires. It should never be substituted for real-life on-job training management. Some companies will take it to another room and have you watch a video of the company culture, what to do, what not to do, how the company was created, who's the CEO, who's the president, and so forth, so on. Not to brainwash you, but to give you some kind of some knowledge of, where the company was originated from.
Chick-fil-A.
The day after my stage in hiring at Ruth Chris, we had to do that, and it was what's it called, an orientation video, a history video, and what they expect from us kind of video. So it is out there.
It is, and they do have it. And it's very informational because there's some facts that we may not be aware of how the company was started, and to help guide you guys in the right direction and keep the culture, the vision of the company going, not to deviate. Mentor employee orientation program. Organizations often use the form of peer mentoring to orient new employees to their work environment and tasks. Employees who have seniority are asked to oversee new hires for a certain time period and are ultimately responsible for providing much of the training that will take place to work. In addition, mentors, again, this is a difference between big brother and little brother. This is now a mentor. Provides ongoing support to new employees during times when a supervisor is handling other matters. The key with this mentor employee orientation program is that the supervisor monitors the task to make sure things are handled consistently and correctly so that new hires learn the things the right way from the start. So mentor is different from the big brother. Okay. Formal employee orientation. Another type of employee orientation program that companies commonly use is that a formal employee orientation system. New hires are assigned a specific leader who will guide them through the predetermined lessons and then evaluate the progress every step of the way. Formal employee orientation program may also include classroom learning, online video and learning modules, hands-on training conducted over a certain period of time. Some new hires may be required to be part of a formal employee orientation program for as long as a year before they are allowed to go out on their own. A formal training program is something required for corporate sales professionals or independent agents, particularly those who work in the field. Formal orientation programs may also require periodic training sessions as new concepts or practices are put into place or organization. While this may seem like a little bit micromanagement, it is very effective way to keep all the employees on task and consistent with their practices. So the formal one is, why do you guys think it's very important to do a formal employee orientation? Any thoughts? The importance of it?
Everyone's
sure it
getting
gets
the
done.
same information.
Yeah, what else?
You just hand somebody something.
Not contradicting yourself, not going back and doing what you told the others not to do.
Exactly. So, any more thoughts? Take a look at the top right picture. Those two little guys with the round heads. Okay.
Looks
No
like they're
social
coming to an
distancing.
And what else?
The first impression is always like the best. You need to make that impression.
Uh-huh.
Their handshake makes the heart.
You always gotta look professional.
Yes. Same time, right? Probably dress the same way. Possibly similar. Okay. So the formal employee orientation is due for many, many reasons. Consistency. Okay. Also known that you don't leave anything not for them to come back. Well, I don't know anything about it. Formal employee orientation is also think about when you guys came to school the first week. Everybody that came in and talked to you guys, from Miss Shelley to Miss Ann Derek to Chef Robin to Shannon, that's your kind of a formal orientation: what to do, what not to do, and what to expect. In a corporate world, formal employee orientation, it's very tedious. It can be kind of boring or exciting depending how you take it. But they will show you the ins and outs, what to do, what not to do, and they will give you a stack of papers to sign almost in blood of what to expect. Because if there anything that might happen, that you have an injury or a client might come back and file a lawsuit against a company, okay, you have that to back you up. They say, no, well, I was trained this way, instead of like, well, nobody should know how to do that way. Like we go into each kitchen block, we may talk about how to do cream of potato soup, vichyssoise. We may talk about certain things, and then go back, and then, I know some students don't pay attention, and and they make something else different. So we go back and say, remember we talked about this? This could be imperative too, because you want to make sure you cover your assets, okay, your bases, and make sure that everybody follows the same guidelines. Because if you don't, you may have a troubled employee, a rebel that doesn't want to follow the directions, or you may have somebody that's going to hurt the company and lose profits. So I's dotted, T's crossed, important. Okay. Job aids. Okay. How to wash your hands. We started this class a long time ago, a while back, and we had this back then. Okay. So job aids to help you. Okay. Job aids, if your employees are learners, use the information infrequently, but find it harder to recall because the information is complex, and create a job aid. Okay. Job aid, looking at these pictures, what kind of similarities you might find they used to find at school posted on the walls?
Dress code policy.
What else?
Kafudi.
Oh, you talking about our school policy, or for work? Because for work, I see this all the time, Chef. Like, they have posters everywhere, and then on top of posters, like there's always a test that you have to take and make sure that and they do it like every month or every 2 months, and you'll like go over, like they'll test you on, do you remember how to come with your uniform dressed a certain way, how to do your work a certain way. and all that. So I've had jobs that do that a lot.
Yep.
What's another form of a job aid? What could be another form of a job
A
aid?
foodie. Like you gotta have your ID, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some knowing, yeah, like your ID or keep don't touch nobody.
No, I don't know about the thing. Chef Miguel's looking for stuff that simple documents that you can read and look at and get an idea of
plating.
How to do something, right? Oh, plating.
Production sheet.
Yes, of plating.
There you go. Maybe a plating diagram even. You know, the fast food place used to have pictures of the food in the kitchen. You're working the line, you look up, oh yeah, that's how the patty melt goes.
Yeah, when
Simple, right?
when I worked for Chili's, like when you were training, they had these little handout sheets, and it was like a little pamphlet, and whatever salad it was, you went to it and you were like, oh, okay, that's the way it's supposed to look, so that's the way we're gonna dress it up and put it up there.
Yeah.
So job aids, yeah.
Sorry, Chef. So like if you're starting you got one successful restaurant and you're gonna have to hire a whole bunch of new people, maybe take a couple of your better cooks over to the new restaurant and have them be your trainer, you might set up some job aids. A job aid could be like a setup diagram for the line. Here's where the hollandaise goes. Here's where the bacon goes. Here's where the potatoes go. Here's your refrigerator. Here's what's in the refrigerator.
Yes,
Check against this list to make sure you got everything. Simple thing. That's totally a job aid. It's a good thing too, you know.
Yes, Chef, it is.
You do something for 3 months, pretty soon you walk in there every day, bang, you just do it. You got it. But the first 5, 10, 15 times you do it, you're going to forget a couple little things until you get it down. So the job aid could help fill that gap.
So save time so you're not asking a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
There you go. A job aid, like Chef Gary was talking about, when I used to change over the menu and change the mise en place so that every single station, I will set it up, take pictures, go ahead and put them in the computer, attach, copy, paste, and then print. And then take that job aid format of the coolers, what was supposed to be inside and what it was supposed to look like. Like on my grill station, at the very top was asparagus, the cheese of the dairy products, the cheese for the hamburgers, and then was the New York strip steaks, beef tenderloins, the rack of lamb, the seafood, the chicken, or the seafood, the pork, and the chicken at the bottom. So in the cooler, I have all the mise en place already properly set up, wrapped, tagged, and I will open the cooler and take a picture of every single shelf, and then attach it on the sheet, and then with a sheet protect, laminate it, and put it on front of the cooler door. So anybody would come in, that was a job aid, a guideline of how that station was supposed to be set up. Same thing with the pantry. We'll take a picture of the sandwich line, everything nice, clean, fresh, and full. Take a picture, go back and print, laminate it, and post it on the pantry station. So if a new cook will start, then what the job aid was, here's what it's supposed to look like. What items were in what location and how fresh was supposed to look like and what they were called. That's one type of a job aid. And even like this one I have on the screen right here. I created this one for my sous chef back at the Embassy Suites. Okay, it's a checklist. It's a job aid. It's not a visual, but it's a checklist job aid for him to follow. Okay, opening and closing duties every single day. He had to fill one out and he had to leave it on the desk and would come in the logbook. Would he wrote his notes of what happened that night? He would drop his checklist. Will come in the morning, and I will read the logbook, what happened that night after I left, during service, all the way to closing, and I will take a look at his closing sheet. So if anything was different, I will go back and find out why it was different. Maybe why was a steak missing and the count was this, or why wasn't the coolers unlocked, or why the stove was left on, because everything was the job aid / checklist was here to follow. Okay. And as we go, again, I love spreadsheets and I love structure and guidelines. I had them do all items must be checked with each shift. Kitchen stations clean, cover, label, and tag. Saute station is a yes or no. Grill station, pantry, protein cart, garde manger walk-in, garde manger reach-in, refrigerator equipment and proper temperatures, because I used to have the temperature logs on outside of the coolers with the AM and PM internal and external temperatures on the sheets. So every time somebody come in the morning, they will write the inside temperatures of the coolers and the outside and log them in on the temperature sheet. Should the health department walk in and find something that was spoiled during the investigation, the coolers were working properly. Maybe somebody didn't cool it down all the way down the way it's supposed to be done. The gaskets in good condition and clean. All food cooked proper temperatures. Again, even how to cook the beef, it's a job aid, because if they forgot, instead of asking questions, if I wasn't there with them, they can refer to this job aid / checklist. All food products held at temperatures below 40 or above. All food reheated to 185 or quickest way and check with the thermometer. We want it to be reheated at 185, not 165. All food cooled to 70 in 2 hours and 40 within 4 hours. All food properly labeled and dated, a date out system, stored in approved NSF containers. Shell eggs kept on the refrigerator at all times. Liquid or pasteurized eggs when possible. Raw meats, seafood, poultry, and pork. Eggs are segregated to prevent cross-contaminations. All the way down to the color cutting boards being used properly. Sanitizer buckets at all stations. Use of approved wiping cloths. This machine temperature is correct. 160 wash, final 180 or above. All chemicals stored away from food. MSD sheets available and posted. Has the program in place. First in, first out. From loading dock and trash, walls, floors, equipment, and any kind of notes at the bottom. Very thorough. But it was a job aid because I was not going to be there until 11 o'clock with him. You know, we'll come in maybe 6, 7 o'clock in the morning and head out maybe before service started, so I can let him, give him the freedom and be the sous chef that he was hired to be. So a job aid can be a visual one, but it can also be a checklist where you carry and make sure that everything's done properly. And again, follow back, go back and see what was being done. If anything's different, question it. Why? Okay.
Right.
So that's a job aid. Any thoughts on that one?
I got a question for you guys. If you're not going to offer any thoughts to Chef Miguel there on this, can somebody tell me of a situation where they have done a job and got good enough at it that they thought they could set up a job aid if you were asked? Could you set up a job aid if you were asked to do it from some job you remember doing?
I've been asked to do it.
Right? You can do it, right?
Because leaving, they didn't want the guy with, I guess, a bunch of knowledge or that knew the ins and outs of the job to, when he's gone, that knowledge is still there, I guess, at
least some things to start, right? They have to bring a new person in. They don't want to have to build it up from scratch and make a bunch of mistakes the first couple evenings they set it up, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So one of the first things that happens to you, you're a cook. You get competent at the station. You can keep up with the orders. You can set it up and have it be fully ready, that it's not missing things when the rush time comes and so forth. And you can leave it properly. Everything's done right. It's put away properly. Everything's clean, sanitary. And then the next thing is, if you can do all that, one of the next things in your progression probably is you get asked to make the checklist for the people who are going to follow you, right? This one here looks, a lot of it's like, it looks like it's for closing, right? Opening and closing. Okay, good. Some people like to have just a closing list where all the things you got to do to make sure it's closed properly. That's a list. You check everything one thing at a time. And then there's another one for opening, like, do you have enough of this? Do you have enough of that? Do you have a backup on such and such? All those kinds of things. So you can write it almost any way you need to, as long as you're thorough and what is expected is clear.
It's like that.
You've done this job a few times in 2, 3, 4 weeks. You should just about be able to write everything down and then organize it into a way that you can really have a good, clear picture of what someone would need to do if you weren't there. That's a good exercise.
Like that movie Night at the Museum.
Right.
Never saw it.
Oh, that Ben Stiller movie.
Yeah. Heard about it.
I had to do that for cleaning cleaning the stations, and the manager liked it so much that I was cleaning the stations that he made me write a checklist on what I did and how I did it, so he could give it to the other staff members, so that way they would follow the checklists and go down and clean it the exact same way I cleaned it.
Did the manager follow through and take your list and actually get people to do it?
Yes, he did.
Good.
So think of another form of a job aid. You guys have one of your possessions. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4. What could that be? What job aid could that be?
Can you repeat the question real quick, Chef? I missed it. You kind of cut out.
What kind of job aid do you guys have in your possessions? That it's a checklist, but what kind do you have in your possession that I sent out the first week?
Oh, okay. So similar job aid that we had at Topgolf was the one I was describing to you guys about, like for all of the events, how each bowl of, let's say it was our chicken fajita party, right? Mm-hmm. Like each size and portion that they had would be a different size on the little chart. And that way, like whenever the servers needed to know how much they had or how much they were missing per se, they could just check that little event BEO, mm-hmm. and they could just look at that and be like, oh, hey, chef, you missed this, or can you grab us our replenishment if they needed it? You know, that way they had a visual aid, and it also showed them how to set it up for their buffet lines. So
that's one.
Okay. Are you referring to the paperwork of how to lift that you sent out, Chef?
That's one.
Okay.
Chef, are you talking about the prep list you sent out with these 4 tabs on it?
Bingo. That's the one I was fishing for. Okay. It's a checklist, but also a job aid. It doesn't have any pictures, but you can attach pictures to it. That prep list is a job aid for any kind of line cook that was going to be slotted in that position, that they can look at it and read it and know exactly what needs to be prepped without being with them all the time. If somebody calling sick, or let's say you have Jane Doe, the floater, the roundsman, maybe 2 days in the grill, 2 days in the pantry, and 1 day as a floater or expediter, when they slot in those positions, that's a job aid for them to pop in and take a look at that clipboard and actually see the job, being aided upon what needs to be prepped and how to set up that station. That's the one I was looking for.
Yeah.
So everything that I've sent you guys, is true life experiences, and I've used it in the past, and it has worked very well. It's not micromanaging, but it builds a stronger team. They're able to carry without you being there side by side. Of course, during the hard times, you got to be there with your team, in the trenches. But for the majority part, they're self-sufficient, self-reliant, and they take a lot of initiative to fill that sheet. So once a week, I will go in there, once a day, I'll do my walk through the line. I will check those clipboards, and I will do a tastings of the sauces and food that was prepared before service, and maybe have them adjusted if needed. If not, that would be my walkthrough, and make sure everything was ready to go, because I don't want to get caught on a busy lunch or dinner rush, and the station may not a product because I didn't make sure that everything was at the set. So that's one of a good job aid formats to utilize. Okay, like I said, you guys have it as one of the tools. Okay, everything that I'm sending you guys is for a purpose, and it has meaning. It depends how you're going to use it to your specifics. Okay.
Yes, I had exactly that in a hotel like 1,000 years ago. Came in and the chef hired me, and he said, he just had me work a couple of shifts with I was going to be the sous chef, and there was about 3 or 4 cooks, breakfast cooks, and a pantry, and a couple of prep people, and a baker, all in this one part of a hotel, place we call the coffee shop. Y'all probably familiar with it. And he had me watch him a couple of days and work the line and kind of help a little bit and just work a station. He said, "You don't do too much yet. Just go in there and learn and watch and see what you think. And then, okay, I did that. And then it was like Monday, right? And then Thursday, he says to me, come on in after lunch is over, spend a little time with me. I want to see what your impressions are. I went in there, and I won't use the French he used, but he swore a little bit, and he said, the cooks are pretty sharp, right? I said, yeah, they're fast. Their egg skills are good. You know, you know, they have experience. They work with each other okay and everything. And he said, it's a pretty good kitchen, isn't it? I said, yeah, everything works. It's got space. It's got the right things in the right place and everything. And then he said, okay, then why am I in the shits every day? And I said, well, the guy gets an order for smoked ribs. They're not hot. They're not in a holder. You know, he has to go down and ask the prep guy downstairs for some ribs. Why are they not on the line? You know, they crack a few eggs and get them ready, but if they sell 10 omelets, 20 omelets, that's okay. But if they sell 30 omelets, they're in the weeds because they didn't crack enough eggs. You know, they don't make hollandaise sauce on a slow day because they think they might not sell an Eggs Benedict. Order comes from Eggs Benedict, now they got to make hollandaise sauce. With any luck, they got clarified butter, but probably not. I mean, I said, it's a mess. And he said, well, get those guys in order. So the whole first week, I just spent learning the menus, making sure I knew who did what prep, and I changed some of who did what prep. And I made lists and I made lists and I made lists, and it was really hard because you put at the list and they say, oh yeah, we know. Well, if you know, then why isn't the ribs right there? If you know, then why don't you have some par-cooked corn cobs already right next to the steamer in the refrigerator? You know that you keep telling me you know this stuff, but every time I see any little action happen, you guys get in the weeds and you can't keep up. And it was really like pulling teeth because they were allowed to work without habits and without order, without a list or a checklist, without anybody checking them for so long that they just sort of got used to being crappy and doing a poor job, and they were accepting this for themselves. About 2 months later, a lot of things were a lot better, and the season picked up and the place got busy, and 3 or 4 cooks, 3 cooks really would do about 350, 400 breakfasts sometimes a la carte off of a small line area. They were very good, but they had to get those job aids, right? They had to have a mise en place list. They had a setup checklist. They'd have a line setup diagram, so everything would be where it was supposed to be. And then they would do it pretty smooth. And if they did get in the weeds and you jump in to help them, you turn around and reach for diced ham as a backup under the fridge. It was there because they had it on a list, and we were enforcing checking the list and making sure. Before that, if they needed diced ham, they reach in there and pull a ham steak out, put it on a cutting board, and cut it up. One more thing they got to do before they can actually get it in the pan and make an omelet out of it. So everything was wrong, and everything had to get fixed, and it all came down to having a list and doing what's on the list. That's it.
Even job aids for our own selves too, okay? Not just for the line staff. You can even create job aids for your own self as you go through the kitchens. I'm gonna share one with you guys here. Let me see. Here we go. Okay. This is me and my executive sous job aids. Okay. We used to do our own internal audits once a week. Okay. 100 question audit of our kitchens. Okay. Very detailed. What's the number one? Can you guys read number one?
All employees must wash their hands at washing sinks located in the kitchen before returning to work.
Okay. What's number two?
Ready to eat food must not be touched with bare hands.
Okay. So this was the job aid that I created for us managers, not just for our staff, because it's a lot easier to delegate and to tell them what to do. But if we don't practice what we preach, you're going to lose that respect. So every week we grab our sheets, our job aid checklist, and they will be making a whole entire walk through the property and noting everything. If everything was not according to what this audit was, then at the end we will take a tally of how many points were deducted, and during the food and beverage meetings, we'll give each department head their copy along with our notes and want it to be fixed. So job aid is not just for the line staff; it's for managers as well too. Okay. One thing that go ahead, Sir Gary.
No, I'll say absolutely. That's how you can check and not forget to check certain things. You got that list.
We number 31 says hamburger meat and patties are received frozen. No fresh hamburger meat and patties are approved. One of the big issues that we had was not to serve undercooked meats or contaminated product, because the kitchen, if you're going to grind your own beef for retails, you got to have it frozen. If you want to grind your own beef, you got to have a designated butcher shop that is under control, because when you grind your beef on a massive volume, the kitchen temperature has to be about 40, 45 degrees. Anything higher than that, you having the ground beef under danger temperature zones. So again,
you have to have the space and the climate control in that room for it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's too dangerous, right? We talked about that in sanitation class.
Yeah. So all this job aids, again, it's not just for the line staff, it's for managers too. Total points possible, 165 deducted points, and we had the total score 90 above. The goal was to have 90 points or above, higher than that. And then what number was the violation, what was the internal audit issue, and how many points were deducted. So we give this to the managers during the FMB meeting to make sure that they knew where they were standing and how to correct the points, because the next week came around, we just grab whatever day and we'll make a walkthrough, and then when they were not fixed, then they will get in trouble with their boss. So job aids are huge, guys, for managers and hourlies too, to help out, make sure that you're within the guidelines operating the system. Okay. I know it seems like a lot. Any thoughts? Thoughts?
Come on, talk to us. We're dying over here.
Job aids, okay? We're almost done, guys. I know you guys are falling asleep. Most leading organizations are moving from the industrial age to the information age. This means that we no longer wish to work hard. We desire to work smarter and faster, right? Take a look at those pictures. Work smarter, not harder, okay? Isn't it true, right? With the many job automations tools and devices, the procedure for protocol to operate in is critical to the employee's success. Developing a job aid is the fastest way to achieve performance and turnover. What is a job aid anyways? Job aid is a repository, box, or room that holds the content of some sort, information process, and perspectives gathered from expert employees or manufacturer notes. It is external to the employee. That is, the employee does not rely on his or her memory to perform the task. That need to refer to the job aid and complete the task accurately. Job aid supports work activities, directs, guides, and enhances performances, and it boosts employee performance and motivation, carries out the task on a timely manner. Okay. Why do organizations need a job, developing job aids? Need to understand the difference between information and education. Job aids directly support performance in the real lifetime manner. It is a critical reference source for several job activities, especially with the consequences are high. It also serves as a precaution for performances depending on the large body of information. Job aids are created for information that changes frequently and has a careful execution of delicate procedures. Okay. Job aids can be printed material posted in various areas such as prep areas or dishwashing stations. They also have been viewed on mobile devices like smartphone. This way employees can have a coach while doing the job. Okay. So job aids. What's the homework for tomorrow, guys? Ladies?
Create a training manual based on the video we watch.
Okay.
Is there one more part of it?
Anyone else?
Well, I got to watch the video to start, don't you?
Are you guys still with us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shaheen, Mallory, Kaylee,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
I'm here.
Yes, I'm here.
All right. So we got everybody on board, right? Nobody's, Nick, you still with us? There you go. Okay. All right, guys. So the homework is to take a look at this video, and you guys are going to create, what would we say, a training guideline, right? A training manual. Okay. Now you're going to take a look at it, and I hope that you guys are very quite observant. And on your training manual, you can write down your thoughts of what you think we should do differently than what the video is. So again, make a training manual according to what this individual does or doesn't do to make sure that they follow the procedures. You guys ready?
So a simple, clear manual based upon what you view in that video, right? I'm going to write up something that will give someone the basics they would need to know to be trained.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there we go, guys. Okay. It's a 8-9-minute video. Okay.
Excellent.
It's called Beef Bourguignon with Le Grand Bistro's executive chef, Sean Martin. Ms. Mercedes, this should ring a bell.
Yes, chef.
Yes, I liked these dishes. Anything that incorporates alcohol somehow. Coq au vin.
Do you remember this video?
I don't remember seeing the video. No.
I showed it to you guys.
You probably did, but I don't remember because, I mean, my brain is mush most times when it comes to stuff like this.
Chef, are we to type up our thoughts on it in Google Docs like we did for the past couple of days and been sharing it with you?
Yes.
Or what's the? You
can create an Excel spreadsheet to write a manual, or you can do it on Google Docs as long as it's formatted. Okay, not just through email. Just give me your notes. I want to make sure that you actually create a training manual how to do beef bourguignon.
Like exactly like this guy, or
no.
It's
Not
not
like this
the
guy.
book.
It's to look at this video, okay, and not just to point out the pros and cons, the good and bad, but how will you devise a training manual for Chef Sean to create a beef bourguignon as a whole? From washing hands, and as you can see right now, he's got no hat, right?
Yes, chef.
So again, you got until, what is it, tomorrow, let's say 4 p.m. to devise a training manual on how to make a beef bourguignon in this kitchen that includes everything from ready to eat, washing hands, gloves, sanitation, that sort of thing, okay? So be creative. You want to detail it line by line, go ahead. Again, I'm not looking to just have a couple of notes or email. This is what I see. This is what I think. No, I want an actual training manual, how to make this dish from A to Z.
Hey guys, a couple of thoughts here, including one thing that is going to be very important that you start doing as we go forward now. I think what you're going to write for Chef Miguel here can be simple and clear. Don't make it overcomplicated. Separate your steps. Say short sentences. Don't write big, long paragraphs. Just make a simple, clear way that you could teach a newbie how to proceed on. It's not exactly writing a recipe, but it's more about observing the right practices and accomplishing the job. Okay? That's one. The second thing is when you, let me see, I'll find some notes I made on this thing here. When you turn stuff in, do not turn something into me that I can't figure out who shared it, right? Your Google Docs has a little window there that has the title of that document. And somewhere on there is a thing you click rename. You will rename it, okay? You will name it. And it needs to have, I applied some thought to this before class. Let me make sure I say it just right so we're clear. Sorry, it needs to be your name. I think a first name and a last initial is fine. That's the first thing in the name of that document. I don't want to see my thoughts on blah, blah, blah. That tells me nothing. I want your name. I want the date that it's due, like APR 16 for April 16. You might find that the Google Docs won't let you put a slash in there, like /16. So you might, APR 16, right? So you name the date that it's due and the subject. So in this case, you'd probably write, what are we going to call it, Chef? Not training manual, but job aid.
Okay, let's go job aid.
No, that's up to you.
No,
job.
No. Let's go back. Let's do a training manual. I want the wheels to spin. I want him to be thinking like an ownership. I want him to be thinking like a food and beverage, and how to take this as a learning aspect and devise a job training manual, how to do this dish from the whole overlook of this video.
Great. So you could kind of abbreviate train man, like training manual, and that'd work. But I got to be able to see who it's from. If I have to search around for it, like you just send me something, you just start writing, and you don't identify the damn thing, I'm not looking at it. I'm serious. Okay?
Any questions? Any thoughts? Okay.
Yes, Chef.
You can come back later and say, hey, Chef, I didn't get credit. And I can say, I know. I never saw your stuff. I'm not digging for your name.
So take a look at it. 9 minutes. Get over, pass over your emotions of what went on in this video, but think about deeply how you're going to make a training manual, how to create this dish.
Okay.
You guys have some tools in your hands, right, Mr. Christian?
Right.
So you already have some to play with. Okay.
Yeah, we have the attachment you sent us a while back.
Okay.
I guess to go off of for a start and what we need to do.
So are we cool now? Everybody got it?
Yes, Chef.
Yes.
Yes, chef.
Yes, chef.
Okay.
Super cool. Thank you.
All right, guys, we'll leave it open for the next 5 minutes. Anybody has questions and that, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Same bad time, same bad channel. Have fun.